The story begins in the immortal world, in the city of black sand, in the gravel desert. Some people are running because they are being chased by level 3 desert ghost wolves. They run desperately asking for help. The group consists of a level 3 mage, a level 3 cleric, and a level 3 warrior. The blonde girl says they were very unlucky because they only wanted to hunt a level 1 sand scorpion and ran into a pack of level 3 ghost wolves, so she asks what they will do. The leader points forward and says to run to the trees since desert ghost wolves cannot climb, and if they manage to climb, they will have a chance to survive. She says this, but is frustrated inside because she knows wolves are cruel by nature, and when they choose a target, they do not give up until they finish it. To make things worse, she is worried because they are all injured from a fight they had earlier, and the only 2 black metal equipment pieces are broken. Suddenly, the mage falls to the ground, and they all look back frightened because the whole pack is attacking the girl on the ground. She looks back and freezes with fear because there is nothing she can do. At that moment, the wolf is struck by an attack and falls, finished on the ground by a sword. She watches the lifeless monster's body until someone appears, passes by the body, and stands in front of them. Xiaohei is surprised, wondering if that person saved her. Then she decides to check the person's level and realizes it is level 1 and is surprised, meaning the boy is a novice. The MC removes his hood and faces the monsters, saying that level 3 monsters are not that strong. Immediately, the wolves charge and he draws his sword once again and goes to meet the monsters. The wolves jump to attack, but in the blink of an eye, all are sliced by several attacks from the MC. The 3 are surprised to see a boy in front of them defeating all the monsters with ease. The warrior is impressed to see someone finishing 4 desert ghost wolves using only a beginner's sword. At that moment, Xiaohei points forward and shouts that they are facing an even larger pack. They don't understand how this is possible or where so many wolves came from, and speculate that the monsters smelled the bodies of their fallen companions on the ground. The group leader shouts for the MC to run because that is a horde capable of massacring an entire novice village, and emphasizes she is serious since the monsters will tear him apart. He smiles and asks if she is serious. Then he opens his system, and a notification asks if he would like to summon skeleton warriors. He confirms and throws all his summoning cards forward, which, upon hitting the ground, create a huge magic circle. At the same moment, a hand starts coming out of the ground, and several level 3 skeleton warriors appear in the battle. The wolves waste no time and advance, but the MC confidently says he wants to see who will be torn apart first. His army advances at full power, and a fierce battle begins with Lin Yuan massacring the wolves alongside his army, finishing one by one that appear in front of him. He plants his sword in the last wolf, and soon after withdraws it. He managed to finish 16 desert ghost wolves, and thus gained 160 experience points. He obtained 16 wolf fangs, as well as 16 pelts and 16 claws. Some energy balls start coming out of the monsters and head toward the protagonist. The girls, watching from afar hiding, ask if that was a dream, since they saw a novice finish 12 desert ghost wolves alone. At that moment, Xiaohei approaches him and asks if by any chance he is a mage with summoning ability, since she herself is also a mage but has never seen a skill like that. He replies that he is not a mage, and she is surprised, wanting to know what he is. The MC just smiles and stays silent because he has a forbidden class of rank SS. Currently, he is at level 2, and his class is Necromonger, a variant of Necromancer. His talent is Dark Summoner of the Gate of Hell. He has 5 strength, 25 physical, and 30 mental. His name is Lin Yuan from the Blue Planet, and he is a reincarnated. 3 years earlier, scientists detected the emergence of a giant and mysterious planet near the Blue Earth, which became known as the Magic Planet. 3 months after that, an unknown company launched a virtual reality game called Immortal World, which shocked the entire world. By using the virtual reality glasses developed for the game, people chose a class and, when leveling up, gained powers to face monsters inside the game. At first, everyone thought it was just a game, until some players began to awaken the same powers in the real world, and they became known as the Awakened. It was from that moment that a cult called Worshippers of the Evil Stellar God arose. They crossed the barrier between the virtual and the real world and began to massacre people. and the entire city suffered at their hands. MC's parents died in this tragedy. Humanity united all the forces on the planet and fought with everything, but in the end, they were defeated by these awakened, as was Lin Yuan, who also lost his life in the final battle. It was at that moment that MC woke up startled at the exact moment he logged into the game Immortal World for the first time. But unlike before, the system granted him a forbidden SSS rank class called Necromonger, a variant of Necromancer. In addition, he also gained 2 SSS rank talents, Shadow Summon and Gate of Hell. At that moment, he could only think that he would get strong as fast as possible to protect his family and save Blue Earth. Back in reality, he was near a wolf, and with his outstretched hand, began to emanate a dark power. The same happened to all the corpses of the desert ghost wolves. The system asked if he wanted to use Shadow Summon on the wolf bodies. He answered yes, and immediately the monsters awaken, already possessed by his ability. He reflected that his class has a unique characteristic that, besides granting him a warrior's physique, also allows him to use Shadow Summon to turn monster corpses into zombies that fight for him. These zombies keep their levels and abilities from when they were alive. In addition, he gained a new skill called Death Body, which makes them immune to most negative effects. He began to use his other skill, and the ground started to crack with his talent Gate of Hell. This allows him to maintain the monsters resurrected with Shadow Summon, and the amount he can store increases with his level. The enormous Gate of Hell appeared and began to open until it completely created the passage for his new army to enter. He, with his new zombies, imagined that if he got strong enough, he could create an unstoppable army of undead. The leader of the girls' team was in disbelief at what she was seeing, and since she understood that he was reviving corpses as zombies, she asked who the hell he really was. MC just replied that it was almost time, and a warning appeared in the sky saying that the world boss giant death wolf was descending on the gravel desert. He thought it was a perfect moment since it was time to hunt the boss. The sky began to thunder louder and louder while other players were hiding. A rift appeared in the sky and grew increasingly dense. 2 players commented that the giant death wolf would soon appear, and because of that, they began to run. One of them said he remembered seeing on the official game site that the attack range of that boss was 50 meters, so they needed to get as far away as possible. Everyone started running like crazy, but one of them was attacked without being able to react. The 2 were scared and hiding, since before them were the massacred bodies of other players near the giant death wolf, which is level 6, has 2,400 health, 360 attack points, and 48 defense. One of the players started screaming because one of the victims was his brother, and the others asked if he was crazy since a solo player couldn't defeat that boss and therefore couldn't let him die for nothing. They were terrified to see the giant death wolf devouring other players, and one of them asked if it was really possible to defeat something so terrifying. Suddenly, they noticed something, and upon seeing the MC walking, asked what the hell he is doing. Lin Yuan walks without any concern, his eyes full of confidence. The players notice the sword and ask if he is also a rookie. His friend replies yes, and further emphasizes that the giant death wolf is a level 6 lord boss, and that without support, even all of them together wouldn't handle it. In the immortal world, monsters are classified from weakest to strongest as normal, elite, leader, lord, king, monarch, and god. Among them, a lord-class monster, even if a level 1 boss, is still a great threat to rookies. The MC finally stops and stands face to face with the boss. The players try to get his attention, asking if he is crazy since if he continues like that, he will die. After all, in front of him is a colossal level 6 wolf. Lin Yuan says that seeing that boss again, he doesn't think it's a big deal. The monster starts drooling blood and immediately uses its skill, Giant Wolf Howl, firing a powerful laser that the MC dodges by jumping back. Once again, the boss advances using its Death Claw, and only then does the MC stop to think that last time that level 6 giant death wolf was enhanced with boss powers, had 3,400 health and a 510 attack. He also knew that for the desert explorers who were only level 3 at best, they would need a raid to have any chance. Back then, he almost died in that raid. In the present, he sees the claw coming toward him and thinks he has lived another life, fought in numerous bloody battles. So he is no longer the same person. The wolf's paw hits the ground, but Linyuan had already dodged by jumping to the side. A player is surprised, as he didn't imagine the MC would be so fast. A notification announces the world boss has entered a state of fury. The MC smiles seeing this, and slams his hand on the ground. A green aura begins to spread across the area and the gate of hell is summoned. The boss is startled because even though it is large, something colossal larger than it appears. The gate begins to open, and the MC gives orders, commanding his army of undead to advance. Immediately, his army of wolves emerges from the portal. The players around wonder what kind of gate this is, deducing that the MC transformed countless level 3 desert wolves into zombies. As he advances, he imagines he leveled up to 3 just by killing monsters along the way, and the underworld gate can now store up to 30 monsters. And even thinking he was late, he imagines he had good results. He reflects that according to the aggression system in the immortal world, summoners are more threatening than their summons. So while both are present, monsters will attack the summoner first unless the summon attacks. The zombie wolves advance, but are attacked by the powerful boss. At this moment, one of the wolves howls, and the boss immediately raises its paw to smash it to the ground. At that moment, the MC realizes the time has come, and with a leap, delivers numerous combos to the enemy, taking advantage of the aggression mechanic, as this will draw the boss's attention when it is about to attack the summons, thus reducing unnecessary losses of his monsters. The giant wolf screams furiously and immediately starts chasing him. He keeps running because while the boss is distracted with him, he can order his summons to attack again. He knows it's not much, each zombie wolf causing only 15 damage per hit to a boss with 3,400 health, but he knows little by little he will defeat it. The players watching think it's crazy. The level Lord World boss is struggling. Behind them, 3 guys laugh as if planning to cause trouble. A few minutes later, the MC jumps toward the giant wolf, which has 500 health left. Without wasting time, he locks his sword, causing a critical hit and dropping the boss's health to 80. The monster starts howling but falls to its side on the ground. Linyuan begins to approach, since now only the final blow remains. He watches carefully until the previous group jumps, shouting that their chance to land the last blow and the world boss's treasure will be theirs, and they are confident since the MC's army has already been eliminated. He looks back and a distant player shouts to be careful. Without thinking twice, he cuts down the 3 players who were going to steal his last blow, and all fall to the ground like potatoes. The MC calls them fools for trying to do that. The people far away are shocked by what just happened, since a rookie killed 3 level 3 thieves with a single attack. The boss stands up once more, looking at Linyuan, but he doesn't waste time and attacks with full force, delivering another critical hit that leaves no chance for reaction. The system informs that the world boss Giant Death Wolf's life has been reduced to 0, and for successfully killing it, he gained 480 experience and a soul gem. He is thoughtful, wanting to know what rewards he will receive for being the first player to finish a world boss. 2 items appear before him, and he takes the first, the soul gem, which contains soul power. After collecting a certain amount of them, he can go to the Eternal Council to exchange them for legendary equipment. He reflects that after level 60, players must go to the Elven Eternal Council to continue evolving, although he is still far from that. However, soul gems are also the simplest way to obtain legendary equipment. In the immortal world, equipment is ranked from lowest to highest as white, black iron, bronze, silver, gold, black gold, epic, legendary, and mythic. Rookies usually only have the lowest level equipment possible, and even black iron is rare. He also remembers that 2 hours before he used knowledge from his past life to attract 2 elite black sand lizards with skeleton warriors, then had the chance to loot the bronze chest they were guarding, and for that, he obtained the bronze level cloak. It was a black lizard tunic, increasing 30 defense, 10 mind, and 10 agility. The system informs that he was the first player to defeat a world boss, and thus obtain the Hunter title. After equipping this title, attack power increases by 10%, critical hit chance by 10%, and common damage by 10%. He is thoughtful, since in the immortal world, titles can grant players various attributes or special effects, and this one has an excellent bonus. Now he is presented with the second reward for being the first to defeat a world boss. The reward was a silver chest. He is surprised and decides to see what it contains. The items he obtained were a a silver moon sword that increases attack power by 100 and agility by 10, the Eye of Death, which is an accessory that increases mine by 10 and has a corrosion ray that causes accelerated corrosion damage to the target enemy by 200%, a recovery potion that immediately restores 20% of life and mana upon use. Next, a skill scroll level 1 that increases skill proficiency by 100 points after use. And finally, a monster essence that can be used to make potions or ingested directly, granting 10 more points in strength, physical, agility, and mind attributes after consumption. He sees all the items in his inventory and thinks it was a quality loot since he obtained several items at once, and it was definitely excellent to be the first to defeat a world boss. His experience is being calculated, and he finds it amazing that he jumped from level 3 to almost level 5, and since each level grants 5 free attribute points, he decided to put 3 points in mind and 2 in strength this time. He is currently at level 4 and has indeed evolved into a necromancer. He has the same talents, but now has 10 points in strength, 10 in physical, 25 in agility, and 35 in mind. He thinks it's great as it is since after leveling up his stats are the highest in the entire Shattered Stone Desert. He notices the information that his underworld gate has 0 monsters out of a total of 40 and imagines that even his ghost wolves and zombies died in the fight against the boss. But his level increased, and the underworld gate can now open 40 undead. He starts using his necromancy on the boss, and a notification asks if he wants to use the summon on the giant death logo. Without thinking twice, he answers yes, and the boss opens his eye, which is now green for being undead, and stands imposingly in front of the MC with the same attributes as when he was alive. The MC observes and imagines he already expected the world boss to have powerful area abilities as well as group control, and even after zombification gained the undead body and a new skill, the fury of the undead, and now he is confident, since with the giant zombie wolf, he can replenish his underworld gate much faster. The players are watching from afar, incredulous to see someone turning a world boss into a zombie, and also unsure what that gate is, as it is more frightening than the world boss itself. At that moment, Lin Yuan looks back and immediately all players hide in fear. Only then does he realize people are still nearby. Furthermore, he sees a tier black iron sword dropped and realizes it was for having defeated the thieves, including a great one for low-level players, although he himself already has the Moonlight Blade. So he picks up the sword from the ground and starts heading toward the other players who quickly get scared of being killed right there. After approaching, the MC goes to a guy and asks if he was the one who shouted during the fight warning to be careful. However, the guy keeps trembling and starts stammering, but Lin Yuan just gives him the sword as a gift, leaving him surprised. Then he leaves thanking him for acting that way. Everyone runs to the player unable to believe he got such a strong sword without doing anything, since a tier black iron weapon is worth tens of thousands of yuans. 10 minutes later, the MC continues walking through the desert until he feels a strange sensation. This, because in reality, the battery of his virtual reality headset ran out and he returned. He thinks he really needs to save to buy a decent game capsule. Then he stares at the game monitor for a moment and reflects that Immortal World is a hyper-realistic total immersion game with entry zones divided by countries. Each zone contains different nations in the game that players can choose, and he gives as an example his region Elpad, which has 4 kingdoms: the Western Desert Kingdom, the Southern Return Empire, the Northern Underworld Empire, and the Tide Archipelago. He is facing the system asking to select the game region. The options are the aforementioned regions, and he, having responded, chose the same as last time. So he clicks on the Western Desert Kingdom. He did this because before dying, he discovered a secret. The place was infested with monsters, and he was defeated on the ground, extremely wounded. At that moment, something approached him that made him widen his eyes, since from inside a portal, some kind of divinities were coming toward him. He observes a yellow jewel on one of the beings, and believes it is the emblem of a guild from the Western Desert, the first believer of the Starry Sky Evil God. He wonders if that is a human player. He reflects since as far as he remembers that being is the key figure who summoned the evil god to Blue Star, and he finds it strange since there are still 3 years until the divine descent. So if he manages to kill him before, maybe he can prevent the tragedy from happening again. The only clue he has is the emblem, since only guilds in the capital of the Western Desert use yellow jewels. And to get to the capital, he needs to reach level 10. So to discover the identity of the rat who caused all this, he needs to level up quickly. He decides to go to his goal and summons a card in his hand, intrigued since he really summoned a skeleton card. In a mortal world, some players can bring their game powers to reality, and these people are called Chosen Ones, also known as Children of Destiny. Each Chosen One has a powerful hidden class and extremely high luck. They are the main force in the fight against the evil gods in the later stages. The MC reflects that in his past life, he did not gain his powers from the game in real life until the catastrophe happened. But in that reality that is happening early, he has already gained quite a lot since he believes the Forbidden Necromancer class is truly special, but does not know exactly the difference between him and the Chosen Ones with hidden classes. He then looks to the side and goes to the clock to see what time it is. Sometime later, two people are at the table and the MC arrives with delicious food, asking them to eat. The girl says that Linyuan worked very hard, and so she asked them not to go without eating. He observes the two, thinking that people realize the value of something after losing it and only then try to make up for it somehow. In his past life, he only spent his time playing games, and people only knew how to say that he was obsessed with those games, and that he would ruin his own life. It was only after the disaster took everything that he finally regretted how ignorant he was. That terrified him. Returning to the present, he asks if Tantan will not return home for dinner since it is Sunday. The girl replies that she will not, since she is preparing for the mock exam and is even taking meals to school. Then she confesses that she is surprised that Yuen learned to cook and apologizes for devouring all the chicken wings since they are tasty. The man tells her not to worry until he looks to the side and sees the MC handing over another chicken wing, and with a smile, says he will learn to prepare more dishes next time. The two are surprised to see this and become emotional. From that moment on, he started practicing all kinds of exercises, since if he wants to fully control his game power in real life, he needs a body strong enough to handle it. He stops for a moment to breathe, and looking at his watch, realizes he ran 50 meters in 5.5 seconds, and although not bad, still needs to improve. Then he decides to return to his training. After a while, he enters the Drunkenstone's desert in the game. A shadow begins to pass by him, and looking to the side, he notices several giant birds in their direction. This is the level 2 Howling Bird. It has 40 health, 20 attack power, and 2 defense. Because they are so weak, the MC easily takes care of all of them. He regrets having dropped only 15 experience, but keeps watching since those monsters have another use. Sometime later, his new zombie birds begin to fly over the place until a huge pack of wolves appears. The MC, coming from afar, realizes it is no coincidence that the birds are favorite targets of the shadow wolves of the desert, since just a few hits were enough to attract an entire pack. He opens his potion and starts to drink monster essence, and since it is made like that, his attribute points increase by 10. He advances since he needs to take advantage of this chance, because the wolves are also coming toward him, but since he is much stronger, he begins slicing them like cheese, instantly defeating 4 wolves. The monsters keep attacking, but he continues killing one by one, already having defeated 10 monsters without being touched. He notices more and more monsters arriving until he is finally completely surrounded by dozens of them. He grips his sword firmly, since he found the timing perfect, and instantly starts slicing them one by one, defeating 20 wolves and then 30. After managing to kill 40 of these wolves, the system congratulates him for reaching level 5. He forms his new army of zombie wolves and sends them to the Gate of Hell, since he managed to fully supply the gate with just 2 battles. He is now at level 5 with 50 monsters inside the gate, in addition to having 22 strength, 20 defense, 45 agility, and 48 mind. He thinks that with the essence bonus in all 4 main attributes, he might be able to face elite monsters of the same level alone. So looking at the horizon, he thinks it is finally time to find a certain person. Meanwhile, in the Black Sand City, the MC is walking calmly until he reaches a door and enters the establishment. A man who is in the house asks who it is. This is Quincy, magic instructor from the city Black Sand. Linyuan says he is here to learn new skills. In the immortal world, Most skills are obtained by defeating monsters or opening treasure chests, but besides that, each class has an initial instructor who teaches basic skills. The MC says that this guy was his mentor in his past life. Quincy says he is happy since apparently he will earn money for drinks in the coming weeks. Linyuan reflects that he was a mage in his past life, and since he is currently a necromancer, which is even a forbidden class, he doesn't understand well how it works, but believes that by the battle style, it is still a magic class. He hands over his money, saying he wants to learn Soul Flame, Healing, and Invisibility. He knows that before unlocking the necromancer's exclusive skills, he must learn the basic mage spells. Quincy accepts the money, since that is what he likes most, and after checking everything is right, he starts using his magic, asking his new apprentice to give his best, also wishing that the glory of mages shines through him. Immediately, the skills are transferred to the MC. The system congratulates him for obtaining the mage profession skill 3 times. He also obtained Soulfire, which causes mage damage multiplied by 100%, costs 10 mana, and has a cooldown of 10 seconds. The second skill was Healing, which casts healing on a target recovering 10% of health. It costs 10 mana and has 3 minutes of cooldown. Finally, Invisibility, which makes him enter stealth mode for 5 seconds, costs 10 mana and has 3 minutes of cooldown. He watches the new skills he has, since the flame will be his ranged attack, and the healing will keep him alive as well as his allies. And basically, invisibility will be for emergencies. However, he knows these are just basic skills, and if he wants to get stronger, he will have to go after resources. Because of this, he decides it is time to farm. After that, to the east of Black Sand City in the Black Sand Mountains, he arrives at the Kobold Mine. The MC already knows kobolds are level 5 monsters living in nearby caves and have the ability to detect enemies in the dark. This type of monster is treacherous and lives in large groups, usually more than 100 per tribe. He concludes they are the ideal target to train his undead army. To start his attack, he drinks his night vision potion, which grants the player a vision radius of 3 meters in dark environments and lasts 30 minutes. He also summons the Gate of Hell to call his undead wolves, and since he knows he can gain levels besides it being a great chance to improve Soul Flame and Invisibility, and if lucky find treasure chests as well, Linyuan starts entering the cave with his army, and they go deeper, and after walking for 15 minutes, he finally senses something. In the dark, he notices something moving, and for that, he throws the torch he was carrying in his hand, which lights up the dark place, showing monsters nearby. The kobolds immediately open their eyes and charge the attack now that they are disturbed. The torch falls to the ground, and all undead wolves charge the attack as well as the MC, who orders to kill everyone, leaving no one escaping. The monsters advance fiercely, but at the start, 2 are taken down. The battle continues, and more kobolds are defeated. The MC realizes the monsters are not very strong, and only tells his army to be careful with their shovels. At that moment, several monsters surround him, and he takes the chance to use his invisibility, making his enemy miss the hit without even knowing how. Then he appears behind them, and with a single blow kills all monsters around him, finishing by killing 20 kobolds. After finishing his kills, he notices that his invisibility proficiency increased, but even happy with that, he does not like one thing since those monsters are very weak, so farming on them is slow. Now his army also consists of a level 5 kobold zombie miners. He ordered everyone to advance, since they are the new substitutes for the zombie wolves, and commands them to find the boss of that dungeon quickly. They start walking until they reach a place with several paths. He watches for a moment until he hears some noises coming from a certain direction, which excites him. With the attack of his flames, he defeats several mud slimes that were hiding. Suddenly, another monster appears out of the darkness, and without thinking twice, he appears on the battlefield. This is the elite kobold supervisor. He is level 6, and his main skills are digging and whip. The MC reflects that since the beginning of time, the law of nature has never changed because the strong always hunt the weak. However, even predators are part of the food chain and sometimes become prey. In short, danger lurks in every shadow, and no one is safe no matter how strong he is. No sooner does he think this than he receives a blow from the supervisor that raises dust throughout the cave. He knows that even at a disadvantage, prey can silently appear and attack the hunter, and he sees exactly that situation. So, raising his arm, he grabs the whip coming toward him, and holding it tightly, pulls the monster as if it were a pebble and throws it far away, sliding across the ground until it finally repositions itself. However, he barely has time to look forward, and the MC slashes through its body, thus securing a kill on the kobold supervisor. The monster is sliced into pieces until it finally falls to the ground. He looks back and realizes that a surreal number of monsters is approaching. The system warns that the supervisor has activated the whip skill, which causes the mine workers to enter a bloodthirsty state. This state increases attack speed by 40% and movement speed by 25% for 60 seconds. Lin Yuan starts counting and notices that in front of him there are 50 monsters, but he thinks the army on both sides is more than evenly matched. Because of this, he summons his entire army, including the giant wolf that was a world boss. He says the game is finally going to start and orders the hunt to begin. The battle between the zombie wolves and the kobold begins, and the massacre happens on both sides. At this moment, the giant wolf activates its fierce howl, and the stun effect hits the nearby kobold directly. The MC sees the opportunity and sends his entire army to attack without mercy. He starts by taking down 5, then quickly turns to 10, then 20, and when he notices, he has already defeated 40 kobold supervisors and therefore reaches level 6. Without wasting time, he activates his necromancer skill to turn the corpses into his allies. Now, he also has the zombie kobold supervisors on his side. Some monsters, seeing that things are not looking good, begin to flee, but he finds it funny and, without hesitation, finishes off all those around him. However, a sudden attack comes in his direction, and he narrowly dodges it by jumping backward. The attack was made by the kobold boss, who is level 7 and has 1,000 health, 150 attack, and 80 defense. The MC says he has been waiting for this moment. The fight begins with the boss delivering a powerful blow with his hammer, the force of which was so great that it got embedded in the wall. He notices that the opponent can't pull it out, so he advances. Knowing this is his chance, he strikes his first attack, which only grazes the armor, and is forced to retreat because, as expected, it wasn't enough to even make a scratch. The boss finally manages to pull out his weapon, and the MC is startled by how fast it was. Immediately, he strikes the ground, and due to the impact, Lin Yuan is sent flying backward until he finally manages to stop with his feet. He reflects that, as expected, the attack patterns of a boss are not as simple as those of elite monsters, and even realizes that the strength is 2 or 3 times greater than that of an elite. He activates his magic since he intends to attack from a distance to maintain good performance. All the zombies enter the battle surrounding the boss. The giant zombie wolf makes its first charge, but the boss counterattacks using his skills. The MC keeps up the pressure and commands all his wolves to attack at once. After managing to apply pressure, the group skill Wrath of the Undead is activated, increasing attack power by 10% and critical hit chance by 20%. With that, their attacks become more powerful to the point that the kobold boss feels it and even screams in pain from the continuous damage he's receiving. After taking some damage, the MC activates his fire spirit magic and launches several of them at once, completely blowing up the area where the boss was, since he remembered that the boss's magic resistance is very low. The monster, though injured, charges forward without thinking twice, but he activates his invisibility skill and appears behind the monster, stating that he will no longer hold back. Then he aims right at the neck, since it's unarmored flesh, and drives his sword in with all his strength, trying to push it deeper and deeper. The boss, even while strongly feeling the attack, manages to counterattack, forcing the MC to retreat. However, he doesn't waste time, and, after snapping his fingers, he holds firmly onto the giant wolf and begins moving on its back while all the others attack at the same time. As the battle progresses, he realizes that the armor is breaking, and channeling more fire spirits, he fires everything at once, believing it will be enough to kill it. The boss starts roaring after receiving an attack of that magnitude. That roar was also a command to summon all the other kobolds from the cave, and the MC finds this interesting since it's more experience for him. The massacre begins, with the number of kobolds killed rising quickly. Meanwhile, the boss is trying to use the distraction to escape. But it's useless since Lin Yuan appears in front of him, asking if he really thinks he'll get away. He grips his sword tightly and, with a single movement, strikes the kobold's head clean off, which goes flying from the body. After this kill, the system congratulates him for defeating the kobold boss and awards him 50 experience points for it. He decides to check the system and notices that he has leveled up to level 7. He thinks it's amazing since his Hellgate can now hold 70 undead, and he currently has 27 strength, 23 stamina, 45 agility, and 50 spiritual power. He is aware that he is getting closer to reaching level 10 and finally being able to go to the main city of the Western Desert. He decides to check his stealth technique and the spirit flame, as their mastery has been completed and both have leveled up to level 2. Now, the stealth technique lasts for 10 seconds, and the spirit flame deals magic damage to the target equal to 200% of the damage. While reviewing this information, something catches his attention as a treasure chest dropped from the boss. He decides to check what it is and opens the chest. He obtained a kobold leather pouch, an inextinguishable torch, a skull mask, the shadow gloves, and, in addition, opened the kobold leather pouch which had 20 gold coins. He grabs all the gold in his hand, knowing that soon, major banks around the world will open currency exchange channels between the real world and the game world, and those 20 gold coins are worth 200,000 yuan in real currency, and he knows that's already a lot. Furthermore, the inextinguishable torch grants the player night vision with a range of up to 3 meters in dark environments with no time limit. The skull mask, once equipped, reduces physical damage by 5%, increases stamina by 10, and strength by 10. He also picks up the gloves and sees that they match the strength of the kobold boss's body. They also increase defense by 30 and attack by 30. He considers himself very lucky for having obtained a silver-grade weapon from a bronze treasure chest, and can't wait to test the gloves, which are said to be as tough as the kobold boss himself. Meanwhile, near the cave, a hero stands before countless dead phantom wolves. This is Fei Long, leader of the Bloodscar Guild. He is a level 8 warrior. He thinks it's amazing that their training was effective since they took down 30 desert phantom wolves in 1 minute. Fei Hu, who is the guild's vice leader, agrees, saying that if they continue working together, they'll be unbeatable. Other players around comment that they expected nothing less from the guild leader and vice leader, as they managed to defeat so many monsters at once. The blonde guy says he's furious since they lost the first world boss kill to Lin Yuan, and emphasizes that no other guild would dare act arrogantly in front of them. He remembers when the world system announced that the player, Lin Yuan, had defeated the giant wolf. Fei Hu says he doesn't know if it was luck or what it was, but he's eager to teach the MC a lesson. The leader makes it clear that they can't act rashly as it would end badly, and says he believes Lin Yuan's strength is considerable and therefore thinks it's smarter to make that person an ally instead of an enemy. Then he starts walking again, saying that as far as he knows, there's a kobold dungeon nearby and will confirm the location while everyone rests to recover energy. Fei Hu remains silent since he's frustrated with everything that happened, and so he yells for Lin Yuan to wait for him, warning that one day he will rip out all his teeth and his head, showing that he is relentless. A blushing member of the guild asks the vice leader not to be angry since something very beautiful is in front of them. He doesn't understand what he's talking about and turns to see what it is, coming face to face with a beautiful woman. Everyone gets excited since they found someone alone. The MC finally leaves the cave, and after analyzing the information about his new kobold, he realizes that with the addition of a powerful boss-level zombie, the number of zombie beasts at the gate of the underworld was restored to 70, and it will be interesting to maintain this pace. Suddenly, a noise catches his attention, and he sees the gorgeous woman asking the bandits not to approach her, since otherwise, she won't be polite. Fei Hu and his guild get closer and closer. They can only imagine it's their lucky day since they didn't expect to find such a pretty girl. Fei Hu asks her not to be nervous since it's just to play with them because it's more interesting to enjoy than to suffer. His colleague agrees, reinforcing that if she serves the vice leader of the guild well, she will receive many rewards. She keeps asking them not to come any closer, and because of that, the blonde guy kicks her in the head. Then he grabs her hair and tells her to stop being naive since there's nothing she can do, and even provokes her to try to attack. He makes a creepy face and gets more and more excited as she resists, and because of that, he starts tearing her clothes. At that very moment, he takes a punch to the face that throws him to the other side of the desert due to how powerful it was. Everyone in the guild is in shock since that was the vice leader, and the impact against the wall was so strong that a dense dust cloud rose with the impact while his body is shattered against the huge rock. The MC, who had thrown the punch, just thinks it wasn't bad at all, even though it was softer than he expected. A guild member runs off since he needs to find a way to notify the guildmaster. At the same time, the others ask who the boy is, also making it clear that he offended the Bloodscar Guild and therefore will die. Lin Yuan looks straight ahead and realizes that it's the emblem of the Bloodscar Guild, the number one in the novice village of Black Sand City during the early days in the immortal world. Most of its members are red-named players who commit all kinds of evil, and all of them represent danger to other players. These red-named people are those who, due to malicious acts, such as attacks, thefts, and robberies, are dangerous players judged by the system as having sin points of 10 or more. And although the evil god has not invaded yet, dead players don't cause real-life death. However, they lose equipment and levels which will cause major problems for players in the future. Knowing all this, he asks if those guys really are from Bloodscar. Internally, he imagines that those rats caused him many problems in his past life. The members look at each other, and one of them answers that it's exactly that since they are the famous guild from Black Sand, and reinforces once again that he offended the vice leader by attacking him. He grabs his own arm and warns that if he doesn't want to have a horrible death, he should break his own arms and then kneel, begging for forgiveness. The MC, without much patience, attacks with everything and cuts off the arms of the two players who start to panic on the ground. He says he will keep the arms of the defeated since they should save their barking for the road to hell. The woman who was witnessing everything can't believe how strong the MC is. After a while, Fei-Hu wakes up and immediately takes a potion that heals 20% of his life. He gets up extremely furious and warns that death will be too little for whoever attacked him. The man returns with the guildmaster where everyone was. Their arrival draws the MC's attention, who turns to see who it is. The brat points, saying that the one responsible for attacking the vice leader is right ahead. Fei Long prepares his axe, but while holding it, he notices something. He notices that the player's eyes were indifferent and cold, yet imposingly imposing. Furthermore, he notices that they are like swords forged under the moonlight, shining with a cold light that could cut anything, and the aura he was feeling was so overwhelming that it suffocated him just by being nearby. The guild member starts provoking the MC, calling him a fool, and making it clear that he will die there. However, the guild leader knows the situation is not good, as the aura he's feeling, plus the sword he saw, makes him believe it was dropped from a boss-level monster, and because of that, he firmly believes the player in front of him is Lin Yuan. He gets internally irritated, as out of all the people they could have provoked, they went and did it with the strongest one possible. The MC asks if the one there is the guild leader. He just holds his axe since there's nothing else he can do and believes the battle is inevitable. At that moment, someone jumps toward the MC and the girl screams desperately, warning that someone is behind him. Fei-Hu yells for him to die already. The leader also takes the opportunity, since they're attacking as a group, and warns that making Bloodscar Guild an enemy is the worst decision someone could make in life. With that, both attack at the same time until Fei Long stops in shock as a giant monster appears behind the MC, and with a macabre smile, it swings its hammer and hits the vice leader square in the stomach, sending him flying like a rocket. At the same time, Lin Yuan goes toward the leader and says it's his turn to get beaten. Then, with a single move, he cuts the guy in half, who falls to the ground like sliced potatoes. He states that even though they're the number one guild, they're not even qualified to make him fight seriously. At that moment, the system alerts that he eliminated a human player, and because of that, his sin value increased by 2 points. He sees the alert and thinks that as long as he doesn't accumulate too many points within a week, they'll disappear automatically, so it's fine. The woman says the rest of the group fled and asks if they should follow them. He replies that they're just losers, so there's no need to worry. At that moment, the defeated players start to disappear and their items are dropped. First, the explosive battle axe. Its effect is that upon hitting a target, It triggers a powerful explosion, dealing area damage to the target and nearby enemies, as well as increasing attack by 40 and strength by 30. Next, the Crossed Dragon Fang Blade dropped. Its effect is that upon hitting a target, it releases flames. The flames cling to the target, causing continuous damage. It also increases agility by 30 and attack by 40. Lastly, the Spiky Attack dropped, which increases attack by 15 and agility by 20. He reflects that the stats of the dropped weapons are very good, and even though he can't use them, he always has the option of selling them for a good price. At that moment, the woman approaches, blushing, and thanks him for saving her and asks for his name. He pauses to think about it and replies that one day, she will see his name at the top of the global ranking. She is surprised since he's referring to the top 10 players in the world, and because of that, she runs after him, saying she doesn't care about rankings and all she wants is for him to carry her. After that, the MC continues walking through the desert until a monster appears behind him and several level 6 Thunder Lament Scorpions jump toward him. He positions himself and begins slicing each one that tries to get close, but with his colossal power, he takes care of them all very easily. He defeated a total of 60 Thunder Scorpions, and because of that, his level increased to 8. He realizes that reaching this level was quite easy, and although it was hard to collect the paralyzing herb, he believes the reward was at least unexpected. 2 days before, he had met someone. The monocle indicates that he was waiting for him. Because of that, a quest from the alchemist Emor was detected. The name of the quest is Imor's Will, and it is necessary to go to the Lamenting Desert to collect 10 paralysis herbs and deliver them to Emor. The time limit is 1 day, and this plant has thunder properties that grow in the desert. Lin Yuan stops to think that after a while a special dungeon will open in the main city, and the dungeon in question is full of monsters with the thunder attribute, and to clear it, extremely high thunder resistance will be necessary. Because of this, the powerful potion that grants electric resistance will be in high demand and could be worth tens of thousands of gold coins. And he also remembers that someone in his past life made a huge profit from it. Also, after completing the mission to collect the paralyzing grass, it will be possible to obtain a recipe for the electric resistance potion. He looks at Emor since he is aware that it is his first day in the Black Sand, and, after completing that mission, the NPC will enter permanent seclusion. In other words, that is the only way for a player to obtain the recipe and the only possible chance. And because of this, he accepts the mission. Back in the present, the MC continues defeating all the monsters that appear. He knows that the Thunder Wailing Scorpion is a level 6 Thunder Beast guarding the paralyzing grass. And at his current level, that guy does not pose any threat. He goes to the grass and decides to make the most of the opportunity to maximize his proficiency in the gathering skill he recently learned. Gathering is at level 2, and because of this increases gathering speed with a 5% chance to collect rare quality herbs. It consumes 1 spirit point and has a 3-second cooldown. After some time gathering, he feels a strange tremor growing stronger. Suddenly, something emerges from the sand and almost hits the MC, who stepped back at the last second. He is startled looking ahead as multiple danger alerts are triggered in his system. He is facing the Crystal Demonic Thunder Scorpion, which is level 10, has 2,800 GP, 400 attack, and 55 defense. He smiles, finding it interesting for something like that to appear out of nowhere, and charges himself knowing it will be quite difficult due to the level difference. His first attack hits the monster's powerful armor directly, but is not enough to cause significant damage. He stands atop the monster until the scorpion begins activating its lightning ability, and the MC starts feeling intense pain since he cannot withdraw his embedded sword. However, he realizes he is about to be stung by the scorpion and jumps at the last second, retreating as far as possible to avoid another hit. He notices that the strength of that scorpion is greater than expected and prepares himself as it comes at him full force. Because of this, he activates his Hellgate skill, and all his zombie monsters appear to join the battle. His Kobold Chief lands the first hit, and the MC is displeased for not having triggered the double critical hit. At that moment, the Chief activates his skill that completely destroys the ground where the monsters were, throwing them all into the air. The MC takes advantage and launches his fireballs, hitting multiple spots simultaneously. He keeps using his combo since his skill level has increased, making it stronger than before. Then he orders his monsters to throw some ropes around the chief's paw and the rest of the body to try to restrain him. The kobold chief then leaps and lands a double critical hit with his hammer, causing colossal damage that even makes the chief scream in pain. At that moment, Lin Yuan jumps and causes the chief to lose sight of him. He gathers energy in his gauntlet, and the system notifies that the player holds the title Slayer Hunter, increasing attack power by 10%, double damage chance by 10%, and magic damage by the same amount. He announces he will break the entire body of that scorpion, and without hesitation strikes the chief's back directly, causing devastating destruction around, and the monster screaming more and more in pain. Due to this attack, the system notifies that the crystal assassin Thunder Scorpion has been successfully eliminated. Instantly, he transforms the creature into one of his zombies, maintaining the same stats as before. At this moment, several other scorpions begin to approach, and this catches the MC's attention, who looks ahead and sees a giant horde approaching. He thinks this situation is excellent and activates his boss's skill since he wanted more experience. Every monster hit by the lightning takes very high damage, and he also does not stand still. As with his sword, he starts slicing all the nearby monsters, always dealing critical damage because of his title, until he realizes he has already made a massacre. The system notifies that he leveled up, and after the slaughter, he finally reached level 10. Now, Lin Yuan is a level 10 Soul Reaper. If the Gate of Hell has a capacity for 100 zombies, his current strength is 32 points, Constitution 28, Agility 47, and Spirit 53. He admits that the feeling of gaining 2 consecutive levels is not bad. Additionally, he also obtained a Lightning Spear, Guardian Greaves, a Paralysis Ring, and a Ghost Bracer. He notices that all the drops were silver level, and if he sells everything, he could significantly improve his parents' lives. A notification warns that the demonic beasts in that area were eliminated, so he obtained a gold skill book specific to his personal skills. A strong glow appears in his hand, and a book appears right in front of him. He realizes that it is the Curse of Darkness. The only condition is that the player's class must be Soul Reaper. The MC realizes he was very lucky, and at the same moment, the skill book is automatically registered in the player's memory. An intense beam of light falls on him, congratulating him for obtaining an exclusive skill of the Soul Reapers, which is the Curse of Darkness. This skill deals damage equivalent to 20% of the target's health, or restores 20% of health to the undead. It costs 100 mana and has a cooldown time of 10 seconds. He activates the skill in his hand, since he does not know exactly how it works, and looking to the side, he sees his giant scorpion is at 60% health. Then, to test, he casts the Curse of Darkness skill directly on his monster, which immediately has its health increased to 80%. The MC reflects that the warm-up is over, as it is time to go to the main city to meet his first believer. However, he feels something strange and already imagines what will happen. It was his stepmother calling him in real life, warning that his father threw some things away and has a lock back. He goes there to help and also asks him not to strain himself too much. The woman warns that he is already at an age where he cannot be doing those crazy things, as he could very well have called a professional to check the air conditioner. He says he was just trying to save some money since it was similar with the washing machine, because he fixed it with some simple adjustments. Then, he asks Lin Yuan not to worry, as he will be fine after one night, but just asks him to remember to pick up little Xiaotan from school the next day. The MC closes the door while thoughtful about this, and the next day, his parents are sleeping until they wake up to a noise. They go to the living room to understand the reason for the loud noise so early, and notice some workers completely renovating their room. Immediately, a worker asks for permission, explaining that those new items were bought by Lin Yuan and that they installed them as quickly as possible. So he asks them to confirm the delivery. The two are just shocked as they are processing what is happening there. At the same time, the MC is training at full speed while admired by the girls since his shape is at its peak. He also continues running on the treadmill until a woman approaches and asks for permission, wanting to know if he is there to sign up for the VIP package, and warns that they will need to charge the upfront fee for 1 year. He replies that it is no problem and hands over his card. Inside, he imagines that he sold some equipment he no longer used, renovated his house, and also earned a gym membership for a family. And he thinks about his parents and Xiaotan, since they also need to start training early so they can adapt as quickly as possible when they enter the immortal world. The woman blushes, admiring the MC, since she saw him exercising for a long time, and he doesn't even seem out of breath. Only then does she notice something and realize that the card is the Supreme VIP, which is issued only to clients with more than 5 million in their bank account. Meanwhile, Lin Yuan is on a call confirming the cash prize he won in a tournament, besides asking them to rest since he himself will go look for Xiao Tan. The woman admires him more and more, since besides being a client, she also found him an incredible young man. Meanwhile, at Xiushui Secondary School, several students are leaving, and a girl is standing waiting. This is Linton, the MC's sister. At that moment, two girls appear gossiping. One of them says it is the older brother's birthday and that they bought a huge cake. The other is surprised and says it must be amazing to have an older brother and that she also wanted to have one. Linlen becomes thoughtful upon hearing this, as she doesn't know if having an older brother is really something to envy, since her only memory is of her brother playing games 24 hours a day, and for that reason, she thinks she doesn't want an older brother. At that moment, a person approaches her, and she realizes it is a group of men. One of them invites her to go out with them, and stresses that he never received a no. She asks what they think they are doing. The girls approach and ask who the boys are. One of them touches Linton and says she has soft skin and wants to see if he can draw some water from her. However, she slaps him, asking him not to touch her. Then she starts to leave, making it clear that if he bothers her again, she will call the police. He becomes furious and slaps her on the back, throwing her to the ground. The other girls are frightened to see the class representative in that state. Then he advances once more, shouting that he is doing her a favor by touching her, and so she should not act like she is powerful. All she does is try to defend herself until someone appears and grabs the guy's arm. Linton opens her eyes and sees that it is Lin Yuan who has arrived. The MC asks who the guy thinks he is to intimidate his sister like that. She is surprised to see her brother in front of her. The guy, irritated, prepares to attack, as do all his gang members who keep shouting they will knock all his teeth out. However, the MC has little patience and starts beating all of them, and whenever he hits one, he goes to the next and beats him as well, to the point of stepping on the face of one that practically buries him in the ground. After beating them all, he calls his sister so they can leave. As they walk, she asks why he is there that day. She says this thinking her brother should be playing all day, and so she doesn't understand why he came to pick her up from school. He replies that their father hurt his back, and so their mother had to stay at home. She is startled by this information and asks if it was serious. He asks her not to worry since it was nothing serious. Then they walk in silence again, and she tries to remember the last time they talked about anything, and so she finds the silence awkward, besides observing how tall and strong her brother is. At that moment, Linton's classmates call the class representative and say they found the MC incredibly kind for picking her up from school. Another says she didn't know she had such a handsome brother and asks why she never mentioned it. Linlin thinks about him being handsome and looking at the MC. She doesn't really understand what they are saying, even though they think he is more handsome than any guy in that school. The MC approaches, greeting his sister's friends, and they are all amazed except Linton, who tries to remember if he was always that tall since she never noticed, and also doesn't know when he started working out, since from what she sees he is quite strong. She only remembers him on the cell phone or video game and, puzzled by this, tries to understand why he changed so much in such a short time. After that, all the girls say goodbye to Linton, and she looks to the side and sees her brother crouched down asking her to climb on him. She feels embarrassed and says she doesn't need to since she can walk alone. Inside, she doesn't understand what she's doing since she wouldn't let him carry her in front of all those people. However, the MC pulls her and puts her on his back. Then, he says that all their classmates have already left, and since she can't walk, she shouldn't exert herself, and asks if she didn't sprain her ankle when she was pushed earlier. She is surprised since she doesn't know how he noticed. After a while, they return to their house, and their parents find it strange to see him carrying his little sister, but anyway, they just say they're glad he came back. After that, the MC goes to wash the dishes, and his mother tells Linton to watch closely how Lin Yuan is behaving since he seems like a completely different person. Linmu agrees, since he's cooking and washing the dishes, even buying new plates and appliances for the house. The little girl just stays silent until her mother approaches and says that the relationship between the two seems to have improved, just like when they were children. She feels embarrassed hearing that, and while drinking her tea, she just wonders if he really changed. Linyuan announces that the dishes are washed and says he will go back to his room. He barely says that and closes the door. Linton soon feels disappointed since she knew she couldn't expect much because her brother is still the same addicted otaku as before. However, he appears in front of her with medicine and asks her to apply it after her bath since it's very good for healing. Then, he returns to his room and says he's going to play and not to enter unless it's important. She holds the medicine bottle and says she already knows she can't go in there but smiles at that attitude. Her mother reinforces once again that their relationship improved and asks what happened at school. Linton replies that nothing happened and that she will take a bath. Meanwhile, the MC is listening to everything inside his room and, lying back in his chair, imagines that the family issues have been resolved for now. Then, he looks at his virtual reality headset and puts it on since it's time to return to the game. Immediately, he goes to the main city and says it's time to hunt some rats. Now, he entered the Wind Sands area. At the city entrance, a man is being stepped on. This person swears by the heavens that it was a misunderstanding. However, the guard keeps stepping and tells him to shut up. At that moment, the MC appears and the guard looks back but finds it strange because he doesn't see anything even though he feels someone is there. Linyuan is hiding because he knows the street guards are very sensitive to criminals, and because he has sin points, he will have to carefully calculate how long he stays hidden since it will be about 3 days. He reflects that it's a good time to look for an old friend of his who is lost out in the world. Meanwhile, at the church, the priest gives his blessings saying that from this day forward, the soul will be pure like freshly fallen snow. At that moment, Linyuan enters saying he is from the charity infirmary. Lawrence looks confused and he says he heard that a seriously ill patient was admitted there and therefore would like to treat him. They go to a room and Wayne is lying on the bed. The MC knows that he is an old, stronger member of the Knights Order from the Old Kingdom. Then he remembers that in his past life, when he had just reached level 15, he obtained a gold-level weapon through him. That is why he is there personally saying he will treat all the wounds inside the body. Wayne looks at the MC and realizes he is a level 10 player. He stands up asking how a level 10 mage wants to do anything since the street guards are a higher level than him. However, he returns to bed because he is coughing up a lot of blood. The MC sees this and warns that the poison has already begun to corrode the internal organs, which will only get worse if he doesn't accept the treatment, and makes it clear he will not live more than a month. Wayne warns that to heal him, he would need a kilo of fish oil with rotten gills, and if he is not afraid to die, he should try his luck in the Gobi mud. A notification arrives saying that Doug Wayne's quest mission has been triggered. It is necessary to obtain 1,000 grams of rotten gill fish fat to treat the poisons. He responds that he obviously accepts. At this moment, at the mission site, level 15 rotten gill fish are attacking other players. A swordsman asks everyone to advance and warns not to let the fish bite since they have sharp teeth. But the monster throws a mud ball that hits some players directly with unmatched power. After falling into the mud, the fish begin to surround him and activate their skills, going to devour all the players. The blonde boy starts to panic since that huge creature is in front of him and he cannot believe they will really be finished. At that moment, the MC appears, grabs his clothes and throws him back, telling him to stay out of the way. Then he charges his energy and launches it toward the fish, causing a devastating explosion on that bizarre face. Then, he returns to the ground still holding the swordsman, who looks confused about what is happening since he did not understand anything. The swordsman wonders if they are really safe until he looks to the side and sees the MC charging forward with everything without even saying a word. He charges his flame powers and starts shooting the entire swamp since it is full of rotten gillfish, which are exactly what he needs for his mission. The monsters do not back down and jump out of the mud trying to counterattack Linyuan. The blonde boy warns to be careful, but he dodges easily and even mocks them, wanting to know if that is all they have. Then he repositions, summons one of his axes, and says that a gang is still a gang. No sooner does he say that Then he starts slicing all the fish he finds in front of him, making them into tuna. The players watching from afar cannot believe how someone can be so strong since there are 8 of them, and they were almost wiped out while a single person is fighting alone. Anyway, he remains scared since he knows the deadliest thing about those monsters are their area skills. And that is exactly what they are doing as they channel their area skills. The MC just watches a dense smoke rising from the monsters and finds it interesting since he knows the fish are casting a group skill called Echo of the Cursed Prey, which causes all enemies within range to receive a shock of toxic mist that causes negative effects of confusion and auditory hallucinations. He finds that trick interesting but says he will not fall for something like that, so he activates his Gate of Hell, summons his giant zombie wolf, and commands to use the skill Howl of the Hungry Wolf. The zombie boss immediately starts howling, and all targets hit enter a state of dizziness. The MC decides it is time to take action and equips his Awakening Mask. It is a one-time defensive mask against toxic mist. He equips the item and charges forward, telling the monsters to die all at once. He starts landing critical damage on all the fish he finds in front of him, and defeats them one by one until creating a huge pile of corpses. One of the remaining fish tries to escape, but he grabs his axe and throws it with all his strength, causing a devastating explosion on impact. The nearby players found it incredible what they were watching, but emphasized not to let their guard down since more fish were approaching. The MC found it interesting and ordered his Thunder Scorpion to take action. He immediately activated his skill and fired numerous thunder crystals, starting to bombard all the mud where the enemies were, but the fish were resisting the attacks well. One of the players panicked since he imagined the attacks wouldn't work and blamed the level difference, which was very large, and firmly believed it was impossible to eliminate them all at once. At that moment, Linyuan jumped and approached the group, questioning who said the goal of those attacks was to kill the monsters. He then put on his hood, and everyone asked to wait a moment since they noticed the scorpion's attack direction seemed to target the female fish's belly, and they started to find it strange as the males began acting oddly and soon got scared as they started devouring each other. The MC knew that whenever female rotten horses die or lay eggs, they release a large amount of muscatone, and this causes the male fish to enter rage mode and start attacking anything within reach. He warned he would take advantage of this trait to let the monsters kill each other. Suddenly, a fish that was nearby charged toward the MC, and this time it was a giant fish. Everyone panicked since they didn't imagine there could be a female fish the size of a male. Linyuan found it the perfect moment and ordered his ghost wolves to advance. They all started biting the monster, and it quickly began losing strength even without losing its life. The MC was surprised since even after sending all his wolves, it wasn't possible to land a fatal blow, and with his sword in hand, he was satisfied for having immobilized that fish since it made things easier. He said that and managed to kill the elite rotten horse, and upon doing so, executed an attack toward the monster's belly and grabbed some small balls that were inside, since the monster was full of them inside. The players didn't understand what he was doing, and the MC simply ordered his chief wolf to carry the fish's head somewhere else. The giant wolf started running at high speed until it reached the top of a rock. He left the head on the ground and began howling, drawing the attention of all the other monsters. A black mist started blowing through the area and attracted all the fish in that direction. The players commented that as far as they knew, the eggs had a special attraction for the male fish, and believed the MC had deliberately created a continuous source of pheromones to release against all those monsters. Linyuan gathered energy once again, since it still wasn't enough, and summoned his Hellgate as he would need reinforcements. His zombies now entered the action and began attacking the already weakened fish. The players questioned if that was the blue venom sac inside the male fish. The MC replied that it was exactly that, since the blue venom sac that grows inside the fish is something like capsaicin, a poisonous gas, and the fishy smell it emits forced the others to sense the danger. The fish began to retreat since all the mud around them was soaked with the blue liquid. The swordsman celebrated since the other monsters fled thanks to that strategy. Linyuan jumped, as now all that remained was to collect the spoils. The archer confessed he still couldn't believe it, since he saw a single player completely clear that place. The blonde boy couldn't contain his excitement, since all he wanted was to cling to his new master. The MC began slicing all the remaining fish since it was time to finish the job and then return to the group. With everything he did, he earned 12,000 experience points and leveled up to level 11. He imagines that thanks to the countless experiences from his past life in that dungeon, he managed to move at great speed. In addition to admitting that the mask played a very important role in that battle, and thinks it's a pity it costs 5 gold coins and can only be used once, since that's a huge loss. Next, the new drop appears in his hand. It was the jar with 1,000 grams of rotten gillfish oil. It's the ingredient for high-level healing potions, and also the item for his quest. He realizes he received something else, and a red ball appears in his hand. This is the nose of the wave player. It's an armor-type item, and is a spherical and elastic nose cover made from tanned rotten gillfish skin. Its effect is that it emits rotten gillfish pheromones, causing a fear effect in small to medium aquatic creatures. He observes it for a moment and thinks that in his other life, he used to wonder why that reward was so high, or if it was the sixth sense of humor of the game designer, since it looks more like a clown nose. Immediately, the swordsman approaches and whispers in his ear, since he thought the item was cool, and with his eyes shining, he confesses that he can't hold back. Lin Yuan asks if he really liked that clown nose. He replies that he absolutely loved it and asks to buy it regardless of the price. The other players apologize since their leader is always this enthusiastic, but the MC simply throws the item into his hand, telling him to keep it, and then starts to walk away. The player asks him to wait since he wants to at least pay, but the MC just opens his imposing wings and says it's not necessary. This makes the blonde boy cry with emotion since he thinks his master is an angel. The other players don't understand how anyone would want to pay for such a ridiculous clown nose. After that, Lin Yuan returns to the church and uses the item on Doug. At that moment, he feels completely healed and confesses that he didn't expect to get that healing item. With that, the system informs that he has successfully completed the gold level quest, and the reward obtained was a gold level weapon, the Blue Soul Blade. He is happy since he finally got the first gold level weapon he obtained in his previous life. The weapon increases physical and magical damage by 150 and spirit by 100. It also has the Blue Soul Seal, which deals damage equal to 150% of the spirit to the target and has no cooldown, with only a mana cost of 10. The MC thinks those basic stats are decent, but finds the skill extremely efficient, especially the hidden effect, since each hit accumulates Blue Soul Chi in the enemy, and after 3 hits causes an additional 250% damage. He remembers that at the time it was the Blue Soul Blade that helped him cross the Western Desert until he became the #1 mage. He doesn't tire of admiring his new sword until a notification informs that he also received a reputation reward, increasing his reputation by 1,000 points in the main city, and reputation with the Manticore Knights increased by 500. He reflects that even though he reached a neutral standing like in his past life, that earned reputation is enough for activities within the main city. At this moment, he finds it strange because another notification is arriving. It was a notice stating that due to the excellence in completing the quest, he received a specific affinity reward with the NPC Doug. The affinity increased by 10 points. The MC looks at Doug and notices he's a bit different from the last time. The NPC immediately thanks him, saying that without that help, he would have died in that bed, and says he is obliged to give a warning since he received that help. Lin Yuan wonders if the 10 affinity points he received will trigger some kind of hidden quest. Doug just gives a warning, saying that MC quickly reveals that Quincy is his mentor and therefore wants to know more details. The man asks if this is serious and immediately says that he noticed Lin Yuan had been hiding his true class, and, as he stands up, wonders if he is a necromancer hunter. He is surprised to hear this and asks if he already knew his identity. Inside, he cannot understand how this was possible, since he hid his information, and even Quincy would not have been able to know this. Wayne reveals that he was once a member of the Knights who reported directly to the king, and, for that reason, learned a special skill called Darkness Perception. He explains that this is an exclusive skill of the Manticore Knights, and, as soon as a necromancer hunter appears, his ability automatically identifies it. MC asks if he knew his identity the whole time. which makes him reflect that there apparently exists a special skill targeting necromancers. Wine explains that, in fact, he did not, because at first he was poisoned and his perceptions were weakened, and only realized what class the MC had after being healed, thus noticing the unique aura of the Lord of Darkness. He is confused by this statement and questions what he means by Lord of Darkness. Wine reveals that it is a story that began long ago, and in the most popular legends of the immortal world, there are a total of 5 gods: the god of light, the monarch of the moon shadow, the goddess of nature, the lord of the tides, and the king of souls. However, he explains that at the beginning there was a 6th god who was the Lord of Darkness, also known as the king of the undead, being the most powerful being among the 6 gods. Because of this power, the Lord of Darkness did whatever he wished. He granted extremely powerful dark abilities to his followers, allowing them to change their class to necromancer. Then, under the bloody rule of the Lord of Darkness, the necromancers spread chaos and, besides the slaughter, also transformed the souls of the dead into zombies, causing significant disaster. Thus, the main kingdoms resisted the Lord of Darkness, and the temples originally built to worship him were destroyed, and all records about him were burned to ashes. Furthermore, the necromancers lived in hiding because if they were discovered, they would be killed immediately, and this class was listed as a forbidden class, passed down by everyone. He continues telling his story, saying that at the time he was poisoned by a necromancer in battle, which is why he is constantly tormented by the illness. MC decides to check his system screen and imagines that his past life was only that of a mage, and never imagined that such a great secret was hidden behind the legends, not being surprised to be a hidden class. He reflects that things have become problematic, since by clearing his sin points, he could secretly investigate the clues about the badge in the main city. But now, if he cannot find a way to hide his Lord of Darkness aura, his identity will be exposed immediately. Because of this, he calls Wayne and asks if there is any way to avoid the darkness perception skill that the knights possess. Wayne replies that it would only be possible if Quincy was truly willing to help, but for that, he would have to reveal his true identity and would definitely kill him. He says this emphasizing that the instructor lost his wife in an attack by a necromancer, and therefore asks once more to stay away from that person. MC just remains silent listening to this, and, sometime later, returns to the desert. This is because 10 minutes earlier, Wayne tried to stop him, saying he was crazy to go after Quincy, since he is a person who wants to shred all necromancers. Lin Yuan turns and says he has no choice. He says this and imagines that if he maintains the dark aura he has, it will be a problem wherever he goes, and therefore needs to resolve it as quickly as possible. Suddenly, several attacks come toward him, and upon noticing this, he begins to dodge at high speed until repositioning himself. He observes several people approaching. It was Fei Long's guild, as well as Fei Hu, who had blood in his eyes, saying that the MC had defeated him last time but guaranteed it would be different since he was accompanied by more than 30 people. Then, with his sinister face, he said he wanted to hear the screams of despair loud and clear when the massacre began. A robotic mosquito hovered over the area, and with its camera-like eyes, it transmitted everything to all the people present. The vice leader couldn't stop laughing, also saying he would show the massacre on a big screen. The spectators appeared little by little. People were surprised, questioning if the Bloodstained Guild was doing a live broadcast while crushing novices. They admitted being shocked since it was 30 people against 1, while others commented that they found the MC familiar as well as handsome, and that it was a pity. Lin Yuan immediately said that guild wouldn't even be good for a warm-up. Instantly, the leader shouted to attack, and everyone advanced at high speed. The mage prepared his magic while the archer readied his arrows, and the warriors formed the front line. At that moment, the system announced that the malicious attack determination had been established and the contract time was 15 minutes. If he killed all the attackers within the time limit, the sin value would not increase. He prepared his sword, saying that 15 minutes was more than enough to kill all of them 3 times, and thus summoned his entire zombie army to join the battle. His giant wolf began blocking a spell, and at the same time, the zombie scorpion struck one of the henchmen dead on. The leader shouted for everyone to pay attention to form a shield wall to protect the mages. Immediately, his guild formed a defensive formation, and right behind them, the mages prepared their rituals, focusing on defensive spells to buff the team. Meanwhile, another mage prepared an offensive spell, unleashing powerful lightning bolts. the archers also decided to attack, firing their magical arrows directly at all zombies within range. At that moment, the spectators began leaving the live stream, thinking the summons were too weak and accusing the MC of being a novice showing off. The guild leader prepared himself and said he had no fear of the zombies, and the same went for his partner, who assured that Lin Yuan would lose his life that day. The MC then smiled, which startled Fei Long. Suddenly, one of the spectators shouted, asking what the hell was happening. One of the mages stepped on a trap, and a sand vortex formed, sucking them all into the ground. At the same time, the zombie wolf chief appeared, and with extreme ease defeated numerous players at once. The battle grew increasingly intense, and both leaders were in disbelief. The spectators returned, having never imagined a novice would react so well. The mages warned to be careful since the wounds were poisoned and needed purification first, but it was too late as a colossal explosion occurred at their feet, until they realized it was a direct attack from the MC. At that moment, a wave appeared behind them, but without even looking, he attacked with his sword, striking the assassin's stomach, who could not believe how he had known of his presence. He warned that he wasn't stupid enough to stay invisible in the middle of the sand. The battle continued frenetically, and everyone began shouting that the opponent was too strong, begging to run and save their lives. Feihu prepared himself and, furious, called everyone trash. Then, at that very moment, he charged to attack with full force. The MC carefully observed his movement and, without hesitation, activated his technique, summoning numerous skulls with the blue soul seal. The blonde guy was completely shocked seeing this ability, until he received a precise strike from the MC, leaving both standing back to back. In the next second, a colossal explosion struck Feihu due to the ability Lin Yuan had used. He remarked that he found it too easy, which made the spectators even more excited. The guild begins to be obliterated by zombies, and all the captain can do is stare in fear, questioning if he is hallucinating, since the MC is in front of him, far more powerful than before, and looking into his eyes, it feels as if he is facing a demon from hell. At that moment, Lin Yuan looks back and makes Fei Long tremble in fear, begging for his life. The MC finishes off an opponent and starts walking toward him, until instantly, he strikes him in the head with his sword, giving absolutely no time to react. Then he looks to the side, and seeing the robotic mosquito, aims his skill and completely blows up the camera, claiming it was making too much noise. After all this, somewhere in a skyscraper, some players are complaining that the MC blew up the drone and ask who he is. A servant replies that he is the one responsible for killing the giant death wolf. They decide they need to find him, since the mercenary guild issued a rank S invitation, and a blonde boy announces that this person is called Lin Yuan. Meanwhile, in the city of immortal black sand, Quincy is almost falling asleep in a barrel until the MC arrives, and he greets him, but warns that he no longer wants to teach, since he has enough money to drink freely. However, Lin Yuan says he wants to talk and cancels his occupation. His profession as a necromancer is revealed. At that moment, Quincy drops his drink to the ground and, full of rage, asks if he is by chance a necromancer. They stand face to face, and Quincy grits his teeth and, using his power, shouts that it has been a long time since he faced a necromancer and wants to know how he dares to appear again. He then unleashes all his attacks but misses them one by one, which surprises him, as he did not expect the MC to be so fast. At the same time, a shadow of Lin Yuan passes by him, points his sword at his head, and asks if they could have a proper conversation. The instructor asks what exactly he wants, and the MC remembers Wayne, when he decided to reveal everything as payment for his debt, explaining that at the time, under the shadow of the Dark Lord, the immortal world was immersed in despair, and to defend justice, Quincy and his wife fought against a necromancer who was one of the Dark Lord's main lieutenants. After a bloody battle, the necromancer was killed, but Quincy's wife was severely injured by the death curse. Her soul was corrupted by the power of darkness, turning her into a memoryless monster who would never reincarnate. The only way to break the death curse and save his wife was to personally destroy her corrupted soul. Everyone thought Quincy would spend his days drowning his sorrows, but it became known that any righteous person who could save his wife would receive a fortune in life. He planned to use the spoils as bait, both to save his wife and break the curse, and to make the remaining necromancers pay with their lives. But of the 158 people who accepted the mission, none returned alive. After remembering all this, the MC asks to hear about his mission. He says it is fine, since there is no other choice, and asks to meet his wife. At that moment, the system asks if he would like to accept Quincy's mission. Mission name, Dead Wife's Soul. Objective, free Quincy's wife and lay her soul to rest. The mission time limit is 10 days, and the rank is silver. He accepts without hesitation and quickly departs, while the old man wishes him good luck, believing the journey will succeed, but with his strange face warns that the body will not return intact. Later that night, he finally reaches the location and immediately uses his night vision potion. He begins walking through the dungeon with his zombies and quickly realizes that this is the sanctuary of the dead, where all NPCs who die in the city are buried. Suddenly, a zombie appears in front of him, but is instantly killed by the King Scorpion. The MC analyzes the monster and concludes that they are undead like zombies, and that there are probably ghosts as well. He knows that the levels of those monsters increase with each floor, and the first floor has zombies from level 1 to 3, and then, on the next floor, they range from level 4 to 6, until finally reaching the third floor, where there are ghosts ranging from level 7 to 9, ending with the monsters on the fourth floor, which are ghouls of level 10. After walking for a while, a portal opens and he gets excited, as he wants to cross 4 floors at once. He goes further in until he stops, having heard some sounds ahead, along with numerous red eyes staring at him. The monster uses the wall climbing skill, in addition to using the suspended slash. He is facing dozens of elite ghouls, which are level 10 monsters with 2,000 health, 400 attack points, and 40 defense points. He wastes no time and orders his army to attack, starting with the King Scorpion, who attacks all the ghouls in front of him, then moves and attacks more monsters around. The MC does not fall behind and advances at the same time, cutting down all the monsters he encounters ahead. With that, the massacre is successfully completed until he notices a ghoul still alive on the ground and ends it with a single stomp. The system congratulates him for reaching level 12 after the massacre he carried out. He admits that it ended faster than he expected and finds it a pity, as his ability to control zombies does not work on undead-type monsters. Suddenly, something appears behind him, and he only notices it the next second. The skill attacks him with full force, and he barely blocks it using his sword, even though he finds the situation dire, until he is thrown far away, crossing the entire hall. At that moment, he looks to the side and notices something chained and that the area has changed. The woman inside the coffin smiles, saying she has been waiting for this moment, and then completely explodes the coffin she was in. This is the resentful ghost of level 18. She has 6,000 health, 800 attack points, and 200 defense points. Lin Yuan wonders if by chance he is on the 5th floor, and the ghost wastes no time and advances, forcing the MC to defend with all his strength. However, she activates her Death Bloom skill, and numerous thorny vines begin to attack, forcing him to move at full speed. While doing this, he notices that the attacks are poisonous, and, holding his sword firmly, cuts all the vines in a single instant, also shouting that attacks of this level are useless against him. After obliterating all the vines, he shows that his sword is no ordinary weapon, intimidating the boss to the point of screaming. Then she activates her Succubus Roar skill. The MC notices the strong wind it generates and considers whether the ghost is summoning something. He then looks to the side and sees a skull rising and immediately deduces what it is, believing them to be the desert NPCs buried in that location. He is aware that besides the original inhabitants of the city, the game must also include the failed challengers of the Quincy journey. He thinks this is a nuisance, as extremely powerful skeletons keep emerging in front of him. The MC concludes that there are definitely more than one behind each door, and does not believe the boss can resurrect from a pile of bones. Because of this, he summons his entire zombie army and orders them to block the doors of each skeleton. The wolves obey instantly, as do the scorpions. Only then does Lin Yuan order the bloodthirst state to be applied, and the wolf chief, with his weapon, whips the troops to activate this skill, putting them in a state of fury. Confident, he orders the kobold chief and the thunder scorpion to attack, and his 2 leaders advance with full force, starting with the scorpion, who activates his pincher skill, rending the ground, while the kobold activates Heavy Strike. Both begin to destroy the terrain around the boss, who, looking up, notices the ceiling collapsing, which indeed happens as everything falls apart. However, she appears unharmed and saves herself using her active skill. The MC is surprised by this, and, looking at the boss, concludes that specters are ghost-type monsters whose bodies can pass through structures and are immune to half of all physical attacks. But confident, he says that on the other hand, he suffers double magical damage, and therefore uses his most powerful skill, activating the blue soul seal. The ghost begins to dodge easily, believing that her speed has increased. At the same time, the revived skeletons try at all costs to break the passage, and this worries the MC, since the tombs can collapse at any moment and he needs to finish as quickly as possible. He takes an item from his inventory, and since he needs to restrict the boss's movements, equips the paralysis ring. It is a type of jewel that increases 100 life, 10 magic, 15 agility, and 15 mental, and once equipped, the attack has a 5% chance to paralyze the target for 3 seconds. He advances at full power, and with his fist clenched, activates his additional skill, Paralysis Toxin. He launches his attack, hitting the target directly with the paralysis toxin. He continues the assault, as it is not over yet, and even though she tries to defend herself, she is thrown violently against the wall. The MC approaches and realizes he caused a lot of damage to his target and therefore got very lucky. He summons his giant wolf, certain that the ghost has slowed down, and orders the zombie to use its skill, which stuns the target. He points his sword, aware that the stun duration lasts only 5 seconds, and unleashes dozens of simultaneous attacks, hitting blow after blow, even though the damage per hit is less than 100. The boss becomes furious and screams, leaving the MC concerned as she suddenly activates the corpse explosion skill. All monsters in the area begin to explode one by one, causing devastating destruction. After the dust settles, she realizes that the MC used his zombies as human shields. He continues to feel the ghost's intense attacks, and notices that only 3 of his strongest zombies remain. He approaches her and declares that the end has finally come. At that moment, he charges with his skill and attacks her body with full force, and she, powerless, can do nothing but scream. The system alerts that the boss is entering near-death state with 30 life until finally being obliterated, and as a reward, he receives 800 experience. After this battle, he asks if it really ended, until he looks back and sees a hologram of a woman thanking him for being a brave warrior. The woman smiles and her body is pulled into the MC's hand, becoming a ring. This is the quest item, a wedding ring given by Quincy to his wife as a symbol of their love. Lin Yuan cannot believe that the reward for defeating such a powerful monster is just a ring. Hardly saying this, a demonic book appears before him, leaving him confused about what it is. He notices it is the corpse explosion skill, exclusive to necromancers, and admits he never imagined this skill was exclusive to necromancers, wondering if it is because the ghost was a servant of the Dark Lord. Without thinking twice, he activates the book to register the skill in his memory, and a beam of intense light falls on him. With this, he learns the corpse explosion skill at gold rank. It is level 1, and its effect is to explode a zombie, dealing its own health times 60% fire damage to nearby enemies. It costs 100 mana and has a cooldown of 10 seconds. He likes the skill a lot, even knowing it consumes his zombie stock, but the attack power and range make it worthwhile, as they are excellent. After that, he returns to the city of Black Sand. He shows the ring to Quincy, who is paralyzed. Unable to believe he is truly seeing that relic again, he takes it in his hand and says that a sealed soul has no memories, and only after being freed will it recover them. He then asks if, when his wife departed, he no longer felt pain. Lin Yuan answers yes, and still admiring the beautiful ring, the old man begins to cry with emotion, finding the situation wonderful. He admits that in the end, he never imagined a necromancer would help resolve his regrets, and as thanks, he summons a box and says that this time he will fulfill his promise. That is the Dark Crown, a unique helmet that has 2 effects. The first is that the value of sin becomes invisible when equipped, and the second effect is that it conceals the Hour of Darkness. The equipment is exclusive to the necromancer and cannot be sold or destroyed. He picks up the item in his hand and, even knowing it has no additional stats, finds it incredible that he can hide his sin value and dark aura, as it is exactly what he needs. And with this, he will be able to solve the knight's problem and no longer need to be cautious in the main city. The system asks if he wants to equip the item, and he, without thinking much, responds yes. A power takes over his body, and he asks if he is now one step closer to the truth. After that, he goes to the Sandbreeze city and upon arriving, notices that there are countless guilds of all sizes. He recognizes them, as all guilds from number 1 to number 10 are present, and remembers a certain person, as he does not know if they are hidden among the crowd. And since he is only a newcomer, it will not be easy to approach the big guilds. Therefore, he is walking, knowing he must find an opportunity. At the same time, someone is watching him, and MC immediately notices this presence. The blonde boy keeps walking and notices that Lin Yuan has disappeared until he suddenly appears behind him with his sword raised, questioning who he is. He says he finally found him and turns around, happy and excited to see MC again, but falls to the ground clumsily. Lin Yuan is confused by this, and the blonde boy, hurt, asks if he really does not remember him. MC, not understanding very well, asks how he knows his name, and immediately the young man stands up, explaining that he saw him fight against the Bloodstained Guild and recognized him instantly. He admits that he worked very hard to find clues about the whereabouts of the powerful warrior who fought the guild, and, the entire time, explains that he spent 2 million to develop a facial recognition system just to find him. MC simply cannot believe that the man spent 2 million just to find him. The man asks if that is a lot of money, saying he does not see it as a large amount, as his company spends several millions just to test the system. Only then does Lin Yuan realize that the boy is from the Han Corporation, a giant worth $100 billion that controls the global high-tech market, and, not knowing the man's history, he wonders if he should eliminate him on the spot. Han King's eyes shine as he warns that the next day there will be a rank S hunt, but in his excitement, he trips and falls face first before finishing what he was saying. MC turns and tells him not to follow, and wonders why he is even arguing with a fool. The blonde boy comments that a great solar god and an elite team is like overdoing it, and as he stands up, he says that the third team of the guild will participate in the hunt, and, if they perform well, they may even have a chance to be recruited. This makes him think about the guild list, and Han King laments having to go alone. Suddenly, Lin Yuan asks what the specific time of the hunt will be, and the excited guy kneels down, celebrating, and says it will be at 8 in the morning. MC tells him to calm down and warns that a little preparation is still needed before departure. This leaves the blonde boy confused. After that, at the Vulture Bandits camp, several explosions occur, and MC, with his summons, says that the leader is straight ahead. Now he has a new army composed of level 12 zombies from the Vulture Thieves gang. He calls his army to march, and as he looks to the side, he sees his enemies directly ahead, and several monsters are protecting the boss. Lin Yuan orders them to advance immediately, and the zombies engage in a fierce battle. The monsters are not intimidated and launch a giant flame directly at MC, but he disappears in the blink of an eye, leaving even the Vulture confused. But it is too late to understand anything, as its body is cut down instantly, along with all the monsters within its reach. He continues hitting one by one, eliminating all the bandits in front of him. After killing the last one, he notices something strange, as the boss simply disappeared. But this didn't last long, because the leader of the Vulture Bandits, level 19, was already attacking from behind. However, MC doesn't let himself be intimidated and with a single move sends several of his zombies at the boss and activates the explosive corpse, causing dozens of colossal explosions, sacrificing his servants. The boss begins to scream, but MC moves at high speed and prepares his attack along with his shadow gloves, landing a full hit that slams the Vulture violently into the ground. A notification then informs that the Vulture Bandit has been defeated, and because of this, he leveled up to 13. The system shows that the Curse of Darkness reached level 3 and now deals damage equal to 20% of the target's life and restores 20% of an undead's life. The Art of Corpse Explosion leveled up to 2, and, when turning an undead, deals damage equal to the user's lifetime's 80%. He observes everything he gained until he is asked if he wants to use the skill scroll to improve a skill. Upon answering yes, he says he liked the result, having used the scroll to enhance his Curse of Darkness. Additionally, he has 130 undead monsters, composed of level 15 Vulture Bandits, plus the level 19 Vulture Bandit Lord. He possesses various skills, including the Deadly Poisonous Hand, which adds 20 points of poison damage. He is surprised to see this extra skill and remembers something similar happening when the giant Death Wolf was revived last time, gaining the Spectre's Fury, which increases allied units' critical hit chance by 20%. This makes him thoughtful, as apparently resurrected Lord-level monsters have skills. At this moment, the system announces that the hunting campaign he is participating in will officially start in 2 hours. Lin Yuan smiles and says he is preparing to leave. Upon arriving at the melted blood scale cave, he immediately gets annoyed by a strong glare in his face and asks if his companion is doing a cosplay of a golden knight statue. The shiny one explains that he spent 50 gold coins for the master blacksmith to customize that armor just to avoid dragging the team down. However, his belt tears and his shorts fall. MC is in disbelief that such a thing is happening and says it is the first time he sees this type of modular armor, and the blonde replies that the blacksmith said it was a recent model. He barely says this when his helmet closes, blocking his vision. He screams for help, unable to see his path, until he trips over his own foot and bumps into someone in front of him. He then looks up and sees someone enormous asking if he is all right. This is Zhao Kui, captain of the 3rd team of the Black Tree Guild. Han King wonders why the person in front of him is smiling, feeling like a venomous snake is watching him, unsure if it's just his imagination. Suddenly, MC pulls him and orders him to remove all the equipment as he appears foolish. The bald man smiles, but Lin Yuan just stares without being intimidated, which irritates him, as no one looks at him directly like that. At that moment, someone shouts to get everyone's attention, and a man asks who is called Han King. He looks closely at the photo on the profile sheet and shouts, asking if he is the guy dressed strangely. Everyone bursts into laughter, finding it pathetic that someone is doing an extravagant cosplay. The swordsman also laughs and says it's himself, then asks if they are the older brothers of the Black Tree Guild. The man draws his sword and, pointing it, declares he has no interest in novices and makes clear he only accepted 2, not because of the registration fee, but because the captain is exceptionally merciful. MC remains silent, listening to everything. Zhao Kui asks what he is doing, reminding him to be kind to the novices. Because of this, he sheathes his sword and advises not to get carried away, as even though the captain is calm, everyone should make the most of the opportunity. The shiny one responds that he will, and a mage draws everyone's attention as he is about to officially start the call. Lin Yuan watches all the people and wonders if they are really players participating in the Rank S hunt. He reflects that they all seem to be newcomers who just entered the main city. Meanwhile, the captain heads toward the dungeon and tells everyone to relax, as even a reaper would detour upon seeing the Black Tree Guild. With that said, everyone follows him. At that moment, the man looks back and sees the shiny one holding a flag, who, excited, starts calling the MC of Deus Yuan, asking him to take the chance to defeat many shiny slimes. He keeps walking, feeling excited as he senses a thrilling scent. After that, inside the cave, they reach a fork, and a warrior asks which path they should take. The captain, smiling, says it's best for them to split up. Everyone is shocked, questioning if it wouldn't be dangerous since there are level 16 elite monsters. A mage asks everyone to be quiet and reveals that the captain had already scouted the paths in advance, so they had already done reconnaissance of the whole area. A man asks if that is really true, that they patrolled in advance, and Zhao Kui replies that it is, and that the morning reconnaissance followed all 3 paths and explained in detail what each contained, but assures that the more dangerous a place, the higher the likelihood of valuable discoveries, and with a suspicious smile, asks what everyone thinks. They begin to understand, as this is the mindset of a large guild, and say that the captain of the guild's 3rd team is the highest level person, thus the most experienced. Without thinking twice, the MC says he will take the left path, and the captain replies that it's no problem. He just wanted to know if anyone else would go with Lin Yuan. Everyone starts whispering that they don't want to accompany just 2 people, also pointing out that they don't want to walk with someone who hides their own level and class. The captain comments that apparently the popularity of the MC and the shiny one is low, and since he cannot force anyone to do anything, there's nothing to do but let the 2 go alone. Lin Yuan replies that it's no problem, and the 2 take the left fork. Seeing this makes the bald guy happy, also calling them ignorant. They venture further into the cave, and the shiny one confesses to being worried as the temperature is dropping very quickly, and he also says he has the feeling of being watched. The MC is surprised and asks if he finally realized it, as there really is something in that place. He panics, asking if it's true, since the captain said he had patrolled the paths and that everything was safe. Lin Yuan laughs and asks if he really trusts the captain, since this is a rank S hunt and yet the leader recruited a bunch of novices. clearly using everyone as live bait to scout the paths. Han King is surprised hearing this and asks why he didn't expose the bald guy. He laughs and grabs one of the slimes on the cave wall, then throws it forward into the darkness. At that moment, many eyes open and a huge army of iron-devouring lizards appears, heading their way. Meanwhile, on another path in the cave, a mage activates his fire ability, attacking multiple lizards at once. In addition, a swordsman helps, slicing them one by one. After defeating the monsters, the swordsman admits that he found it very good to have pawns as sacrifices to distract the monsters, and finds it funny that everyone believed they had scouted the paths in advance. Zhao Kui swings his flail with force, killing the enemies in front of him. While doing this, he is surrounded by many lizards, which only excites him more, to the point of attacking all of them at once. After that, he makes a bizarre face, warning that mere monsters should recognize their own places in the food chain. At the same time, the shiny one is completely terrified, since, even though the monsters are powerful, the army of undead is attacking frantically, taking down monster after monster until they finish all of them in the cave. Even though the fight is intense, he is surprised, wanting to know how many monsters the zombie has subjugated since the last time, and reflects that these monsters are even more powerful than the battle against the giant wolf. MC points out that he had said he would make some preparations, and the shiny one confesses that he is impressed, since, in less than a day, he has subjugated so many powerful monsters. After the conversation, he had already killed 55 elite monsters, and, walking, says that it is already over and that the efficiency of his zombies is not bad at all. Han King begins to cry, moved, as he wanted to be as powerful as MC, until he is startled, since a tremor started out of nowhere, and decides to call Lin Yuan, but soon sees him busy and decides that he cannot keep bothering him, since he also needs to be useful. He searches for the direction the tremors are coming from, until he feels something in the ground, and asks if it really disappeared. But in the next second, the ground is destroyed with something emerging from within, and this leaves the blonde completely terrified. A sort of tongue appears in front of him, and he tries to understand what the hell it is. At that moment, the tongue attacks and knocks him to the ground. Then it wraps around his body and begins pulling him into the earth, leaving him unable to believe that it is all over. However, with a simple cut, MC appears, saving him, since he sensed the presence of a beast hiding underground. Then he grabs the shiny one's clothes, who runs away, as they need to reposition. After moving a bit away, Han King confesses that he was terrified, since the monster seemed gigantic, and believes they need to leave the area immediately. At that moment, the ground begins to crack, and he shouts that it is too late, until the colossal creature appears before them. This is the iron-devouring iguana, a level 20 boss. He is terrified, since the mission information said the monsters were up to elite level, but clearly the monster in front of him is Lord level. He apologizes, saying that if it weren't for him, they would not have encountered such a terrifying monster, and asks them to flee while he himself holds the monster as long as he can. MC laughs and asks what he means by terrifying monster, saying that finally someone worthy has appeared to be his prey. The shiny one is in disbelief at what he just heard, until the boss prepares to attack, but Lin Yuan advances first, eager to defeat that giant. The zombie vultures quickly appear and throw their shuriken swords, but it is ineffective since the boss activated his iron tail skill, which completely blocked the swords. Lin Yuan realizes his chance has come and unleashes his blue spirit seal skill, bombarding the enemy's back. He returns to the ground, and the monster turns to him. At that moment, he sees where the strikes hit and reflects that, unfortunately, he only left some small burn marks. The iguana screams furiously, activating her toxic sand breath skill, which is unleashed instantly, causing an explosion throughout the area in front of MC. The shiny one sees this and shouts for him to be careful with something so dangerous. The impact area created a powerful acid, and MC observes that it was a high-concentration corrosive attack, and realizes it is a bit more problematic than he thought. At the same moment, the boss attacks with his tail, but he dodges and calls for Lord Vulture to appear. His servant emerges, attacking and trying to pierce the iguana with his swords, and even though she is resistant, the impact creates a powerful shockwave. Han King watches in awe at seeing a newly acquired subordinate of Lin Yuan, and he finds it completely amazing. The Lord Vulture continues moving at high speed until he activates his skill to attack from behind and lands a full strike with armor-piercing ability, but it is not enough, as the boss swings his tail and hits the zombie vulture full force, sending him crashing against the wall. The Shiny One is astonished at what he is seeing, as the boss's reaction speed is incredibly high, as if he also had eyes on the back of his head. Lin Yuan reflects on having eyes in the back of his head and thinks about all the times attacks were blocked even when they hit a blind spot. This makes him consider that lizards are creatures with simple ocular structures and rely mainly on changes in light. However, their dynamic vision is excellent, and only hearing and smell can detect the slightest movement of an enemy. Therefore, lizards are several times more sensitive to enemy movement trajectories than humans. He concludes that to deal with that monster, he will have to lure it into a trap. With this thought, he launches multiple attacks and starts shouting that he will keep attacking until the monster gets tired. The boss begins moving toward him, and he starts to flee to draw it elsewhere, and while doing this, he imagines he needs to keep the iguana's attention entirely on him. At that moment, Han King shouts asking if he is in danger, and reflects that the boss's defense is at Lord level. That is why fireballs will have no effect until he is startled when looking ahead and sees that the direction MC is running leads to the pile of zombies. He approaches as closely as possible and smiles, as this chance has arrived. Then, with a slight movement, he diverts the trajectory, leaving the boss in front of the zombies, and, all clumsy, the iguana tries to turn but hits all the monsters because it is not agile. MC finds this funny and asks if it can't even stop. The boss continues advancing with its huge mouth, and MC charges energy in his hand and unleashes it fully, completely exploding the area where the boss is and causing massive damage. He gets excited since the armor has been broken, and the monster continues running toward him. Lin Yuan jumps to the side and shouts for Lord Vulture to position himself on the left. Both take positions beside the boss, as MC has realized the lizard has another weakness. Its eyes cannot focus on enemies on both sides at the same time. The vulture aims with his crossbow and fires numerous attacks at the monster's mouth. MC also doesn't waste time and jumps, and even entering the iguana's line of sight, it is too late as he drives his sword with full force, landing a critical hit. With this, the system congratulates him for reaching level 14, as he has finally defeated the boss. 5 minutes later, he uses his ability, restoring 85% of his zombie's health, and is pleased as this ability at level 3 is extremely powerful. He also imagines that if he uses another skill roll, it will raise it to level 4, but his greatest excitement is over his new zombie, as now the iron-devouring iguana has also become undead. He orders it to advance, as it will be used as a flesh shield. At the same time, Brilhoso shouts excitedly. Upon seeing the loot, the monsters dropped and asks if they should contact the guild. Lin Yuan questions the rush since there are still many rats to clear. Meanwhile, elsewhere, several monsters are also defeated, and the captain says they are nothing more than ants not worth looking at. His group agrees, knowing that monsters of that level are nothing against the captain. They decide it is time to collect the corpses until an explosion occurs in the cave where they are, leaving them all frightened, unsure of what is happening. At that moment, Zhao Kui shouts, asking who did that, and how dare they challenge the Black Tree Guild. They face each other, and MC asks if, by any chance, he will not collect the bodies, otherwise, he will do it himself. The mage, not understanding, shouts that it is impossible since the two should have been eaten by the iron iguana. Han King, enraged, asks if he still has the courage to say that, and had even considered the Black Tree Guild great and honest. But all they do is use players as bait to enter the dungeons. The warrior asks what the problem is, since it should be an honor for mere scoundrels to serve as a stepping stone for the Black Tree Guild to grow. On the other hand, the captain is thoughtful, since 2 people really managed to get out alive, and he is not sure if there were few monsters or what might have happened. The Shiny One continues shouting angrily, and Zhao Kui becomes more and more irritated by these shouts, to the point of deciding to eliminate him once and for all. Because of this, he begins to approach, not knowing for sure if the two were lucky or something like that, and charges fully, striking the ground directly with his flail. However, the two manage to dodge, and Lin Yuan counterattacks immediately. The captain does not waste time and defends, and both attacks collide. MC is pushed back by the impact, and the bald one asks if he wants to die, but he pays no attention and uses his death abilities, bombarding the entire cave and forcing the captain to dodge all the attacks. After doing this, he realizes that Lin Yuan simply disappeared and does not understand where the hell he hid. MC appears through the smoke and tries to attack from behind, but he manages to block with his shield at the last second, also questioning if he really thinks he is an idiot for being hit so easily. MC continues applying pressure with his sword until the bald one disappears from his front and he is confused, trying to understand where he is. At that moment, Zhao Kui appears at high speed behind him, and he turns around startled, but takes the full blow to the stomach that throws him with all his force against the wall, even startling the shiny one. The guild members ask to help, since their target is Han King. Meanwhile, the captain walks toward Lin Yuan, saying he has no more time to waste on him, and prepares his flail to finish everything at once. However, along the way, something catches his attention. It is MC holding his hand and questioning if he is, by any chance, the captain of the third team of the Black Tree Guild. He is confused by what he is seeing, but Lin Yuan, with a smile on his face, exudes an incredible killing aura, like a predator, and says he has an approximate idea of the level of the 10th ranked guild in the main city. Zhao Kui tries to exert force, but does not understand why he is unable to do anything. MC, with his deadly stare, simply swings his arm and throws the bald one forcefully to the ground. He falls injured and admits that he really underestimated him and, once again, charges with his flail. His subordinates warn that they will also help, and all three attack simultaneously. Lin Yuan says, a mob is just a mob, and nothing will change that. They all attack. But besides MC dodging, he also summons his undead, who take the opportunity to hold them all. Only then does the captain realize what is happening and sees once again the death magic heading toward them and cannot dodge in time, as the explosion hits his foot directly, making him fall to the ground, while the undead birds hold the other two guild members. At that moment, Lin Yuan approaches and Zhao Kui asks him to stop, since if he really kills him, the Black Tree Guild will not let it go, and therefore, he must think carefully. The MC just keeps staring until he looks to the side and sees Brilhoso clinging to his leg, since he had been dying of worry a little while ago, but says he is glad to see him well. Lin Yuan, embarrassed, just gives him a little kick since he is too close. Then he raises his sword, warning the bald man that, as far as he knows, the Black Tree Guild is not only dominant in the external world, but also cruel in the real world, and if he loses the equipment, the guild's level will suffer with death, and they will also come after him for this loss. So he wants to know how he will explain this situation to the leaders. Zhao Kui realizes he is screwed either way, both in the game and in real life, and therefore begs for anything in exchange for letting him go alive. He orders the list of high-level players in his guild to be given, as well as noting their professional levels and characteristics. He requests this because he knows that in his previous life, the skills used by the first disciple were unknown. No one knew what they were or how to handle them, and therefore he believes it must have been an extremely rare hidden profession that no one knew how to use. The bald man, confused, asks why he wants this list. But when he says this, he gets a sword strike on his hand, and the MC orders him to decide immediately whether he will write it down or not. He screams in pain and replies that he will do it immediately. After taking the notes, he concludes that all the masters of the Black Tree Guild are in that place, and although there are some special professions, none of them match the first disciple's characteristics. The captain approaches and asks if by any chance they can leave. The MC says he can let them go. The bald man thanks him for that, but the next second, they receive a triple attack from Lin Yuan, who makes it clear that they harmed so many innocent players that they should answer to them in the afterlife. With these kills, he obtained each one's equipment, the Moon Hammer, which increases attack power by 45, critical hit by 30, and physical attack by 30, and has an additional ability that increases attack speed by 20% on the first attack. The second item is the Dancing Sword, which increases attack power by 30 and accuracy by 20. Lastly, the Lingguang Cloak, which increases magic damage by 20 and spirit attribute by 20. After seeing this, Lin Yuan notices something and his friend shows a chest and says that the guild also left this behind without even opening it. The MC opens the chest and says he will keep the first item and the rest they can take, but Brilhoso refuses since he wants to buy all the items instead of taking them for free. as he does not want to take any advantage. Lin Yuan takes a deep breath and says there is no suitable item, so he will not want to keep any. But Han King, as he does not want anything for free, transfers 54 gold coins. After this, outside the Bloodscale Cave, Lin Yuan imagines that, as expected, there are still some silver equipment pieces, and it is not so easy to get gold equipment in the current version. Han King calls him and says there is something he is not sure he should mention and, scared, explains that the Black Tree Guild is vengeful and will take revenge offline if they cannot defeat him online, and therefore suggests letting his personal bodyguard follow him. The MC, unconcerned, thanks him for reminding him, but says they are just a bunch of insects, so it is not a problem. After that, he takes off the helmet to log out of the game, and soon his family shouts that dinner is ready. He says he is coming, and upon opening the door, is faced with something bizarre in front of him. He is startled and keeps staring at the person in front of him, who removes the helmet and reveals that it is his father playing a joke, since he did not know what the helmet was for, asking if it is broken. The MC replies that apparently it is not broken, but asks why he bought a gaming helmet. He panics and explains that, in fact, his wife found it while cleaning Linton's room. This makes Lin Yuan reflect that his sister had awakened a hidden class in her past life around that time. At that moment, his mother appears, telling the two not to stand still since they should eat quickly. After joining them, she explains that his father doesn't understand new things and was trying to find a common topic among the siblings. And he spent the whole afternoon trying to turn on the helmet but couldn't. He feels embarrassed, asking not to listen to his mother, since he was only worried that Linton would use things without knowing how. MC reflects that he could make his parents enter the world of eternity and could use his own resources to recommend them, and when the cataclysmic change occurred, they would have the ability to protect themselves. Because of this, he explains that the game is not difficult and that he even bought 2 more helmets, which is why he wants to see his parents trying to play. His mother worries and asks not to waste money, but he says it's not a problem and asks if, by any chance, his sister hasn't returned yet. She takes the phone to call, believing that Linton is playing with her friends, but he says he will call. And after trying, he realizes that the call isn't reaching her, as if there is no signal. He worries a little, since even if his sister didn't want to answer, she would at least send a courtesy message instead of completely ignoring him. His mother asks once more to eat first and guesses that Linton is eating out, so they shouldn't wait for her. However, Lin Yuan asks them to eat in front since he remembered he has some things to buy, and fears the store will close early. As he leaves, his father comments that little Lin Yuan has grown since the siblings used to stick together, and he wants to see him communicating more. MC goes down the stairs and recalls his past life when his sister appeared completely injured. He noticed her presence, but the girl just passed by, and upon reaching the door of his room, told him that her situation was none of his business, and not to call the police or tell their parents. She then slammed the door with all her strength, leaving MC worried about it. Back in the present, he reflects that in his past life, after Linton started playing the game Eternity, she quickly awakened her hidden class, but also endured many things she shouldn't have had to endure. And all of this began with the emergence of a mysterious organization, the System Organization. This was a mysterious group founded by 9 Celestial Chosen, and only the Celestial Chosen were qualified to join the system. Among them, there was an existence called the Prophet, and the Prophet could sense Celestial Chosen in reality. Then, at a terrifying speed, the power of the System Organization became invincible in the game. Not only that, but its influence in the real world also strengthened, and although their actions were mysterious and unpredictable, they did something to stabilize society, which left people perplexed. After little Linton was invited to join them, she frequently carried out dangerous missions, but never mentioned anything about the System Organization at home. He continues down the stairs after thinking about this, and all he wants is for this organization not to be with her at this moment. And after opening the door, he concludes that even if they are involved, he will not let his sister get involved in these matters again. Outside, while walking, something catches his attention as he looks at an establishment, and he immediately hides. Lin Yuan imagines that his sister has definitely already met with the people, but the distance is too great and he will not be able to hear the conversation, so he activates his invisibility even though he hasn't used it for a long time. He begins to approach, imagining that the level of his ability is 3, so the duration is 5 minutes. He stops walking and thinks he is close enough to the two guys talking to his sister. Chen tells her that he said everything he wanted, and whether it is true or not, she must judge for herself when deciding whether to join the organization, making it clear that the disaster will happen in 3 years and that she must wake up to life. The tense atmosphere lingers in the air, and the MC Invisible just observes. Xiaopan tells his colleague to go easy, as this way he will scare the girl with the terrifying hour. He retorts that he is discussing a serious matter for her own good, since things have reached the point they are at. However, at that moment, he notices something looking in Lin Yuan's direction and completely changes his expression, scaring Lin Yuan, since everything indicates he has been detected. Chen activates his dissipate ability, and this aura affects the whole restaurant, scaring the MC since the invisibility effect will be dissipated after a 3-second countdown. Chen continues looking attentively and is confused when he sees nothing in front of him. He changes the subject by calling the restaurant owner and ordering an herbal tea. The old man replies that he will prepare it immediately. Meanwhile, the MC, who managed to hide in time, cannot believe the guy used the dissipate ability that the ring possesses, but is glad that this ability has a 3-second delay, since at that moment his invisibility was dissipated. Chen goes back to drinking his tea and tells Linton once more to carefully consider joining the organization, as they are people with a sense of justice, and hands her a card. She responds that she will think about it, and the two leave the restaurant. At the same time, Lin Yuan activates his invisibility again and decides to leave the restaurant as well, but when he gets outside, he realizes the boys have disappeared. He continues walking until a cup of tea is thrown at his feet. Only then does he look forward and sees the two who threw the tea, saying that something is definitely wrong. Once again, the invisibility countdown begins, and the two keep staring in his direction, waiting for it to happen. However, the next second, they see nothing, and Chen comments that maybe he has become too sensitive lately. His colleague asks him to relax, as he is very nervous, and asks if he believes that the girl will join them. He responds that, according to the prophet, she will join sooner or later. Lorino agrees, as he has never seen the prophet's predictions fail, although his true curiosity is to know which girl will be his girlfriend. Chen, indignant about this, hopes that his friend survives until the catastrophe, since it does not seem likely to happen, and the two leave while the MC watches from the top of a building and reflects that the organization is a group of people difficult to deal with, and he is worried about exposing himself too much and revealing his class, since he needs to be much more cautious. Meanwhile, Linton is staring at the card and remains silent the entire time until she looks forward and asks why her brother is there. He replies that he went down to buy something and asks if she has eaten. She, a little downcast, replies that she hasn't, but that she is fine. The MC shows the bag with food and asks to leave work for later, since he needs to eat something when they get home. She finds this strange, since she knows her brother cannot take care of himself and does not understand why he is taking care of her, but he just asks them to go quickly. However, she remains silent and they return home. When they arrive, their mother immediately asks if she has eaten and if, by any chance, she wants some food heated up. Linton replies that it's not necessary, since she wants to rest first. Their mother turns to Lin Yuan and asks if, by any chance, he will eat a little, since he left without having anything. At that moment, Linton closes the door and takes a deep breath. She walks toward the bed, thinking about what happened recently, and lies down, imagining that ever since she played the game, all kinds of strange things have happened. She remembers when she was fighting a monster, and her friend was shouting for her to run as fast as she could while holding the monster. That was a level 5 longsword mantis, that, with its sharp blades, landed a full strike on the girl, who fell to the ground immediately. Linton panics seeing this, and holding her sword firmly, declares that she will not abandon her team. Several mantises rush at her, and she starts defending against one of the attacks, until another monster appears behind her and lands a precise strike. At that moment, the system congratulates her for unlocking a hidden class. Then, facing dozens of monsters, she slices them one by one with her incredible power, to the point that she cannot understand how she became so strong all of a sudden. After finishing her slaughter, she plunges the sword into the ground, and the system informs her that she is now the Sword of Dawn. Still in her bed, she wonders if the sensation is real, and even notices some changes in her body. This makes her question whether, when a disaster truly occurs, she will be able to protect everyone with this power, since her hand is overflowing with energy. She reflects that this kind of power will not be able to withstand the disaster, and she no longer knows if there is any hope that others will survive. She then gets up and, looking at her family portrait, thinks she needs to get strong as fast as possible, regardless of joining the organization, since she needs to protect everyone. MC, also looking at the portrait in his room, thinks he can no longer postpone the change, since his energy needs to be in the game, and he cannot keep it all the time, and he believes it is time to let them live a good life. Because of this, he goes to a building and the employee asks if, by any chance, he is looking to see a place to live. He asks if, by any chance, there is a fully furnished mansion, since one of those must have high security. The woman finds it strange, since she does not know if such a young boy can really be rich, and her first question is whether he has heard about property prices. He does not waste time and shows his card. She takes it in her hand and is amazed, since it is a limited edition VIP card with millions of dollars in credit. Because of this, she screams, welcoming him and saying she will serve him promptly. The scream is so loud that it draws the attention of people around. After all this, he calls his family, and his mother, seeing the new house, asks if all of it is true. She cannot believe there is even a private pool, since it is just like the one seen on television. Jianlu looks at the room and cannot believe how big the bed is, as well as the whole house, since it is gigantic and shiny. The two, still not understanding, ask how many years it will take to pay the mortgage, since they do not want him to be under pressure. MC responds that there is no mortgage, since he bought it with his earnings from previous competitions and game income, and therefore does not need to worry about anything besides the fact that he will live in a house next door. His father admits he never believed he could live in a mansion. Menlin agrees and even comments that, in the blink of an eye, his children have grown and can live on their own. Lin Yuan is happy seeing his parents content. After that, the MC starts walking, since he doesn't need to worry about the mansion's security, and the next step will be to guide his parents in playing, as well as being more careful with the organization's presence. He barely thinks about it when something catches his attention, as several men are heading in his direction. They approach close enough, and Lin Yuan quickly realizes that the person looks a lot like the captain of the Black Tree Guild, whom he even killed in the game. Immediately, everyone rushes forward, wanting to see if the tough guy is the same outside the game. One of them makes the first attack but hits the ground, and the MC, without wasting time, moves at full speed and lands a precise kick on the bald man, besides beating everyone around him. After Zhao Kui falls to the ground extremely injured, he wonders if the MC is a human or a ghost. Suddenly, a piece of iron is driven next to his head, and Lin Yuan says that apparently they don't value their own life. Zhao Kui, desperate, pleads for his life to be spared, claiming he can still be useful, and because he knows about a hidden mission. The MC asks him to continue, and the bald man says that in the main city, he found a blacksmith named Tong who works delivering ore, and, when favorability is high enough, this NPC will make a gold equipment. Lin Yuan hears this, and imagines that indeed, in his past life, a player obtained gold equipment very quickly, and it was really connected to a discrete NPC. Then, to see if it's really true, he squeezes the iron bar with all his strength, deforming it, and makes it clear that if anyone tries anything online or offline against him or his family, they will pay with their lives, demonstrating with the iron bar, which he broke in half with a handshake. Zhao Kui fully understands the message, being absolutely terrified. After that, in the main city of the Western Desert, inside the game, some players are toasting with beer and enjoying lots of delicious food. Tong is incredulous at what he just heard and says that if one really provides 100 pieces of ore, he will make a weapon for free. In front of him is the MC, who after hearing this, concludes that Zhao Kui was indeed telling the truth, so his next step will be mining. Near that table, a woman is running, and a player asks why she is running since he wants to have a drink with her, but the girl keeps asking not to be touched. Lin Yuan watches this, and the guy gets annoyed, warning that if he doesn't stop staring, his eyes will be gouged out. However, being impatient, he simply casts a spell that throws the drunk man to the other side of the tavern. The woman, drunk, thanks Lin Yuan for the help and asks if she can buy him a drink. The MC just walks past and says no. She keeps insisting until she trips over herself. He immediately notices and catches her at once. The girl becomes excited and asks if he wants to dance, but the moment is broken as she simply falls asleep without warning. Because of this, he goes to the room and leaves her sleeping, as she is very drunk. Then he goes to the Viper mine and puts his undead to work mining. He imagines that he currently has 12 dog-headed zombies in his underworld portal, which is perfect for mining. Hardly thinking about it, a noise occurs nearby. When he turns around, he sees violent level 10 moles. He immediately summons his black scorpion, which instantly starts attacking all the monsters. After defeating them all, the MC doesn't waste time and begins using his magic, as there will be more monsters efficient for his objective. Soon the moles turn into undead, and once again, an explosion occurs above him. He asked what the hell was happening and realized it was an extremely large monster chasing someone. Upon analyzing, he saw it was another violent mole, but of Lord level, and it was at level 16. With his sword in hand, he asked if by any chance it was the boss of the mine, and if someone was purposely attracting the monster. The player being chased raised his staff and fired a ball of energy in Lin Yuan's direction, who immediately stomped firmly on the ground and leaped backward to escape. But as he approached, he realized it was not a magical attack. When hit, he received a notification that he had been buffed by the Old Sun, a holy armor skill that increases the ally's defense by 20 points and lasts 60 seconds. Only then did he realize it was a priest skill. Near the location, the miner asked what was happening and why all the iron ore had disappeared, also noticing that the priest being chased belonged to the Super God Iron Triangle Guild, and he didn't know why he was alone. Then he took out and used his mosquito-shaped camera. Meanwhile, the priest was running at full speed, shouting that he didn't want to attract the monster to that place, and therefore wanted everyone to escape, as he would take responsibility for his own actions. The miner's stream system reported 15 users online, and they asked if the boss was solo and commented that all priests from the Mirror Flower Water Moon Guild were over the top. Lin Yuan realized that even in that situation, the priest was very loyal and therefore welcomed that boss at his doorstep. People quickly recognized him and commented that he was the master who soloed the world boss, and thus believed it would be exciting what would happen in the mine. The mole boss got close to catching the priest, but Lin Yuan jumped in front, blocking the attack. Seeing this left the guy surprised at such strength to block an attack like that. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Zhao Kui had his system open and, watching the live stream, said he wasn't ashamed to lose to a monster. At that moment, some players passed by complaining about how MC was hyped, with everyone idolizing him as a god, believing that in terms of strength, no one compared to their president. Zhao Kui realized it was Nuyan and drew attention, saying the mad god had only taken advantage of the guild and the class, and no one could compare to the great god. This made the guy so angry that he asked to repeat it once more. He apologized and asked if by any chance it was Nu Yan from the Fury Guild, noting that everyone was saying that leader Quang Shen of the #1 guild should have resigned a long time ago. Immediately, he pointed his sword at the bald man's neck and asked what the hell he meant by that, and he felt cornered and questioned why he was taking out his anger on him, as that's what everyone was saying. Nguyen asked if the so-called god everyone was talking about was the guy in the live stream and, therefore, ordered to notify the entire guild online to follow him. Meanwhile, MC's battle continued frenetically against the Lord-level mole, and, after landing a few hits, he told the priest to flee while there was time. The monster gave no respite and charged again, attacking the ground with full force, but he dodged in time and, with his hand raised, fired several fireballs that exploded at the creature's feet. At that moment, 1,297 people were watching the stream, and they were excited as they were seeing two powerful people fighting the boss. The mole started moving again and began chasing Lin Yuan, who kept fleeing while his undead minions attacked to the point of knocking him to the ground. MC approached and warned that attacking recklessly was not a good strategy, and, without hesitation, drove his sword into the mole's eye, which began screaming incessantly. Cobalt jumps and delivers a hammer blow to the monster's face, not giving it even a moment to react. Lin Yuan takes the opportunity to equip the glove and charges energy in his fist, landing a critical hit that finishes it off. The system congratulates him for killing the violent mole of Lord level and also for reaching level 15, in addition to obtaining the pursuit dagger and the agility boots. He doesn't waste time and begins to revive the boss. The dagger he obtained is silver and increases attack power by 20 and attack speed by 5, as well as agility by 25, and its effect is to strengthen the next attack every 6 attacks, increasing attack speed by 10%. The boots, also silver, increase agility by 30 and movement speed by 5, and their special effect is that when out of combat, they increase movement speed by 10. The priest approaches with glowing eyes and asks if, by any chance, he is the master who soloed the first world boss, and, if so, wants to add him as a friend. However, MC just walks away, thinking he found the wrong person, but the guy says it's impossible, having watched the video countless times, and would recognize him instantly. At that moment, a fireball flies toward Lin Yuan, who in the blink of an eye turns and cuts the attack in half. He notices several people approaching until Nguyen appears, saying he recognizes him for not turning to ashes from the fire attack. Besides him, several guild members are armed and ready for combat. MC observes this and wonders if the Fury Guild wants to defeat him to show off, but sees no reason not to accept the equipment that is coming to his door. The system announces that a malicious siege has been established and the counterattack time limit is 15 minutes, and eliminating some players during this period will not count towards sin points. Suddenly, the priest steps forward and says he has been waiting to fight side by side with a great warrior as comrades, and promises to protect him as much as possible. Lin Yuan can't believe what he is hearing. Nguyen points his finger warning that he will massacre the two, but at the same moment receives a punch to the mouth. Since MC is resourceful, the punch is so strong that it sends him flying across the cave until he crashes into the wall. The number of spectators is already over 5,000, and everyone is excited for the show they are about to witness. Nguyen gets up and questions how a lone dog without a guild dares to attack him, and at the same instant shouts for everyone to kill Lin Yuan. The entire guild charges without hesitation, as they must honor their leader. At that moment, MC activates his invisibility, so the attacks hit only air. The mages prepare to dispel this ability, but he appears behind them, saying it's too late, as with a single move he kills both. Nguyen shouts again, claiming that Lin Yuan must have low health and mana, having just faced a boss, so they should seize this opportunity. The broadcast continues at full speed, with people marveling that the Fury Guild is struggling against a single player. They advance with everything, as their pride is at stake. While MC takes them down one by one, several fireballs fly toward him, and as he dodges, he notes that the area is narrow, so his undead cannot take advantage. The attacks continue targeting him, and multiple explosions occur inside the cave. At that moment, a figure emerges from the smoke, and the guild members start chasing him, while the leader makes it clear he wants Lin Yuan's head. After advancing deeper into the cave, he becomes excited, but does not see MC hanging from the ceiling. When he realizes it, it's already too late, as he receives a kick in the middle of his mouth that makes him spray blood in all directions. He gets up saying that sports attacks are nothing, but when he realizes it, MC is holding a sword at his neck. Nguyen starts screaming, warning that he has been caught, but Lin Yuan makes it clear that the guild members will not return, and gives a slight warning, wanting to know what the Mad God will think upon learning that he led the entire guild to death. At the same time, the zombie wolves start approaching the group, and at that moment, MC activates his corpse explosion skill, causing the entire cave to be destroyed with an absurd number of explosions. Nguyen starts screaming, wanting to know what he did. Andy, with his sword raised, tells him to ask the guild in the afterlife, and with a single movement, cuts off his head, making an item drop amidst the body. The item in question is the Bloodthirsty Twin Blade of Gold level, which increases physical attack by 50, attack speed by 20, and critical hit by 30. It also has a life absorption skill that converts 10% of the damage dealt into his own life. After that, he returns to Tongs, who admits to being surprised by the amount of ore he managed to collect. And with that, the blacksmith's favorability increased by 100 points. MC realizes that the blacksmith can only collect a maximum of 100 pieces of ore per day, so he knows it will be a long-term task, taking at least a month. He also knows that the Fury Guild dropped a lot of equipment and will have to find a way to sell everything. He also knows that looking for the first believer through the guild is very slow, and as far as he remembers from his past life, the men of the first believers had the ability to control snakes. Because of this, he goes to another location and imagines that he should accept the sheriff's mission, which is to kill 30 monster rats. Although his real goal is to find the hidden dungeon in the sewer, he goes killing the monsters and follows his path, as he needs to find a room with snakes, until finally his expression changes, as he found what he was looking for. An explosion occurs in the place, and he is confused as he doesn't know if he is seeing correctly because he never imagined the snake would be so absurdly large. That is the Hades King Cobra of level 60. No additional information is available due to the power gap. He starts fleeing, trying to understand how a snake can be at such a high level, since if it just touches him, it will be the end. Therefore, he activates his invisibility, as the loss of level and equipment due to death would be very significant. He moves through the water, and the snake does not stop chasing him. He keeps running constantly, even more so since the invisibility has ended, and decides to use the terrain to his advantage. Only then does he look back and realize that the snake is getting closer and closer, and even running at full speed, he knows there is no way to stop. Because of this, he summons his scorpions and imagines he will have to use them to delay and buy time. He continues running and realizes that his scorpions are not even slowing it down, and the snake keeps getting closer. At that moment, MC spots an exit at the top of the dungeon, and when the snake attacks, he jumps out and, looking back, realizes it cannot pass through the small hole nor destroy the area. Lin Yuan walks away, aware that no monster can cause problems in that place, as it is the Western Desert Palace, where the National Guardian is, and any monster that approaches would be easily exterminated without exception. He still imagines the snake inside, and reflects that the civilization of the Snake Men and the kingdom of the Western Desert have a deep blood feud, and that is why some monsters hide underground and plan revenge. And basically, whenever any demonic beast or monster sets foot near the Imperial Palace, the Guardian of the Kingdom will destroy them without hesitation. He knows that, although the snake is strong, it is not even close to the Imperial Master, and therefore should be able to gain some clues in that place. Another thing the MC thought is that he needs to avoid this situation again, trying his luck in the market to see if there is any position to attract low-level basilisks, since encountering such a large snake again is out of the question. He goes to the palace, and the vendor sells a potion that attracts low-level snakes. Suddenly, someone appears saying that he walked across all the sand just to find him and pay his respects to the MC, who upon seeing him, wonders if it might be the priest who was fighting the mole boss. Mike sends a friend request and asks to add him, being sure that they will be useful to each other, but the MC, uninterested, just walks past. The frustrated boy runs ahead and asks him to wait, as he wants him to join his guild. He emphasizes that they could join Leng Yue and Xing Hen to become the 4 super gods. The MC thinks about the name Leng Yue, as in his past life, this person was the president of the 2nd Guild and also a central member of the Order organization, and therefore, it is a great opportunity to get clues about the first believer, and he accepts the friend request. Then he invites him to open a dungeon together, but since he has something to do, he will leave first. Mike gets excited and asks him to count on him. The MC goes to the place where, in his previous life experiences, there was a large appearance of snakes. He notices a crack in the ground, and after a while, several smaller snakes begin to appear. He knows they are snakes from the demonic nest, so he needs to be more careful. Already prepared, he explodes the entrance door and prepares with the undead kobold. Upon entering, he comes face to face with the giant skeleton of the snake, which is the hidden entrance to the dungeon, the serpent demon's lair, where there are level 10 baby snakes. The MC extends his hand and summons the King Scorpion, which immediately uses its power, annihilating the snakes in the area. With the dropped items, the system asks if he would like to consume the blood and meat seed, which is a special medicine, increasing the player's main attributes by 1 to 5 points randomly, and making the human class increase tolerance when consuming it, up to a total of 100. He takes the item to his mouth, and the system informs that his spiritual value rose by 3 points, and his tolerance increased by 1. He sees all the pills dropped on the ground, and from what he understands, they can only be consumed once, but the attribute increases are impressive, besides being a rare item that can be sold for 4 or 5 gold coins in the market. He continues eating the little fruits, gradually increasing his attributes, until finally having eaten all 100 fruits, which is the limit. Currently, Lin Yuan is level 15, with 77 strength, 101 constitution, 119 agility, and 318 spirit. He creates his new army of undead snakes and decides to save 900 blood and meat fruits to sell in some store. and after that, he will visit the place once a week to farm. Additionally, he left 3 zombies in the dungeon to scare any players who happen to encounter them. He becomes thoughtful, as the snakes in that place are different, since the level 61 he found definitely should not have appeared at that stage of the game. Suddenly, a notification arrives from a call in the real world from his sister, and he wonders if something happened, as it is not common for her to seek him out on her own initiative. He answers, even while inside the game, and asks if something happened. She, in the real world, responds that no, and that she just wanted to ask if he had eaten. Linyuan finds this strange and answers yes. At that moment, a girl next to Linton shouts over the phone, wanting to know if he could lead in a dungeon. MC does not understand what the hell is happening, but answers that he can, and wonders if his sister wants him to fetch her for a dungeon. At that moment, a boy approaches at school and points out that Linton is a liar, just like her brother, since MC agreed without even asking which dungeon it was, and therefore asks Linton if by any chance her brother has lost his mind from playing too much, and if by any chance they usually conspire to deceive people. The girl next to her agrees and asks to choose the heroic difficulty of the Veil of Ashes, which no guild has managed to clear so far. Linton, still on the phone, asks her brother if he managed to hear that the boys asked for the dungeon to be the Veil of Ashes at heroic level. The boy provokes again, saying that they are weak, and that, in fact, their parents are too, for having given birth to 2 failures. Linton screams furiously at this insult, but MC, listening through the phone, asks her to calm down, not to say nonsense to an idiot, and that he will soon be heading to this Veil of Ashes. That's all, folks. If you enjoy the video, subscribe and hit the bell. Thanks.